Chapter 1086. Gamble Fight, Defeat Xianxia again. _4 Chapter 1086. Chapter 383. Gamble Fight, Defeat Xianxia again. _4 Hence. The major factors determining the combat power of a false core immortal are magical treasures and divine skills. Golden Dragon Annihilation / Xianxia, holding an artifact in both hands, shouted loudly. The flood dragon shadow above his head almost materialized, filling heaven and earth with a sharp and domineering aura, as if it meant to annihilate all beings. Cultivators spectating around felt this terrifying sharp killing intent as if falling into an ice cellar. Immediately, some cultivators with weaker cultivation levels repeatedly moved back to avoid being injured by the residual energy. Standing outside the battlefield was already so threatening, not to mention facing Xianxia directly like Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Buzz! Lu Miaoge promptly performed a gesture incantation with one hand, summoning her yin-yang energies bottle. The yin-yang energies bottle instantly formed a layer of azure light, in which a yin-yang fish slowly swam, mysteriously captivating. Boom! 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 The flood dragon roared, golden light flickering fiercely and wildly. The flow of the yin and yang energies rendered the azure light barrier continuously torn under the terrible onslaught of the flood dragon. However, this light screen was much tougher than the typical shields of Foundation establishment cultivators. Moreover, it possessed an endlessly growing momentum, which, even if momentarily torn and damaged, could immediately recover. Indeed, the Lu couple is extraordinary, actually capable of contending against a false core immortal. But just like this, the two of them have no chance of defeating Xianxia. Seeing the confrontation, all cultivators looked solemn. Although Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge appeared to be at a disadvantage now, they knew if it were themselves facing Xianxia, facing such an attack, they would likely have already been defeated. Wind-fire formation. At this moment, Lu Changsheng employed his famous technique, the talisman formation. After all, merely relying on the couple's combat abilities to suppress Xianxia, who was a false core immortal, was indeed a bit bold. It still had to depend on this talisman formation to bluff their way through. However, being able to win Hoer Mountain and 30,000 spirit stones, this talisman formation was worth it. Whiz, whiz, whiz. One after another, spirit talismans streamed out from Lu Changsheng's sleeves, causing everyone to look on in shock. Because such methods as talisman formation were mostly heard of and never seen by most people. And most people who use talismans on a daily basis would at most use 2 or 3. They had never seen such a sight. So this is a talisman formation. Hundreds of talismans, refining talismans into a formation, truly astonishing. No wonder Lu Changsheng was able to defeat 3 Foundation establishment cultivator from the Yu family shortly after breaking through to Foundation establishment. With such techniques and enough talismans, even an initial stage of Foundation establishment could defeat someone in the late stage of Foundation establishment. But this talisman formation really burns through money. This brief moment must be costing tens of thousands of spirit stones, right? Indeed, probably Lu Changsheng was reluctant to agree to a contest earlier, also because it's too costly. Who could withstand such expenses? Spectating cultivators were surprised and emotional upon seeing this scene. Even the ancestor of the Jin family showed a trace of solemnity on his face upon seeing these continuously emerging talismans. Talisman formation. Xianxia saw these talismans, and with disdain, snorted coldly. He had been defeated by Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge in the past due to this talisman formation technique. Now daring to challenge Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, he naturally came prepared. Chaos bead. Xianxia let out a long howl, and a fist-sized red bead appeared above his head. Buzz! The bead circled around, bursting forth with layers of twilight. As the talisman formation had just taken shape and the magic power mechanism started to merge, In this moment, it was instantly disrupted and scattered by Jin Zan's mana. This is an exotic treasure that can disrupt the magic power mechanism, specifically countering talisman formations and battle formations. Someone spotted this chaos bead and exclaimed loudly. No wonder Jin Zan is so confident. With this chaos bead, Lu Changsheng's talisman formation can hardly form properly, and even if it forms, its power will be significantly weakened. It seems the Lu couple is going to suffer a setback. Many cultivators felt regret seeing this scene. They still wanted to witness the power of Lu Changsheng's talisman formation, eventually resulting in a Pyrrhic victory situation. This, Lu Yuanzhong and others looked worried upon seeing this. If today Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge were defeated by Jin Zan, not only would they lose White Tiger Mountain, but they would also likely face relentless suppression from the Jin family. Chaos bead, quite interesting. Lu Changsheng saw this red bead, chuckled lightly. With one hand performing a gesture incantation, he shouted lowly, 99 mysterious true strategy arise. The opponent indeed had an exotic treasure that disrupted the talisman formation, but he naturally had measures to suppress the talisman formation. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A black iron sphere with flowing dark light appeared in Lu Changsheng's hands, shooting out numerous black iron talismans. Due to limited resources and divine sense earlier, Lu Changsheng had only forged 18,099 mysterious true talismans. Now his divine sense was comparable to a nascent soul immortal, and he didn't have a handy magical treasure, so naturally, he crafted this complete 99 mysterious true strategy. Whiz, whiz, whiz. In an instant, every 4,500 mysterious true talismans formed a pillar of heaven, a total of 8 pillars, suppressing in all 8 directions. The talisman formation, which had its magic power mechanism disrupted by the chaos bead, was instantly reformed and arranged in all 4 directions. Once the wind-fire formation was complete, violent winds immediately swept through, and fierce flames rolled, covering a part of the heavens, enveloping Jin Zan within. Jin Zan, startled by this scene, roared out loud. Chaos bead break. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The chaos bead above his head erupted like a volcano, stirring up layers of twilight, sweeping in all directions. Then, the golden dragon square heaven stakes in his hands burst forth with an endless, intimidating golden luster, like a vast ocean spreading, with a mighty and overwhelming force, aiming to break through the talisman formation. However, under the suppression of 64,099 mysterious true talismans, the talisman formation held steady like a mountain, with fierce winds and raging flames bombarding Jin Zan, engulfing him entirely. But Jin Zan was indeed worthy of being a false core immortal. Chapter 1087. Gamble Fight, Defeat Jin Zan Again. _5 Chapter 1087. Chapter 383. Gamble Fight, Defeat Jin Zan Again. _5 Confronting the tumultuous onslaught, his entire being was shrouded in golden light, ferocious and powerful. Swinging the golden dragon square mallet in hand, it seemed as though flood dragons were roaring ferociously, indestructible, tearing the heavens asunder. Upon seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately switched from defense to attack. The yin and yang energies surged towards the sky, spiraling above the talisman formation, as if suppressing the golden mallet. The Tai Chi talisman transformed into a small sword and pierced into the center of the talisman formation. What is this? It actually stabilized the talisman formation. I've heard that a talisman cultivator's magic artifact is called a talismanic weapon. This must be one of them. It seems that Lu Changsheng really has obtained some talismanic inheritance, becoming a talisman cultivator, not only refining multiple talismans into a formation, but also controlling such a complex talismanic weapon. His divine sense must be as strong as someone at the peak of Foundation establishment, right? Is this the might of a talisman formation? Absolutely terrifying. Spectating cultivators looked on in amazement. their hearts full of surprise. Today's magical duel, in just a moment of exchange, was filled with suspense, gripping everyone's heart. Boom! At that moment, a ground-shaking sound erupted from the windfire formation. The golden mallet wielder's hair whipped wildly, his body burst with golden light, and his aura climbed intensely, seemingly about to collapse the heavens as he bombarded the talisman formation. This image was incredibly breathtaking. All the cultivators present were terrified, feeling the horror of the clash between the two sides. Energy-refining cultivators who had come to watch the battle could now only sense the ocean-like terrifying might from afar, no longer able to clearly see the contest. The golden mallet is using some kind of secret technique. He's prepared to fight with his life. Someone with the pupil skill noticed something was off with the golden mallet within the talisman formation and couldn't help but exclaimed aloud. At this revelation, many showed surprised expressions. The monks of the Jin family, especially Ancestor Jin, looked uneasy. He never expected this supposedly certain bet to turn out like this. This made him look towards Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, who were classed together like divine lovers, with a hint of dread in his eyes. If the golden mallet was no match for them, it meant that even a direct confrontation would likely not favor him. To kill these two, one must wait until they are alone, and absolutely cannot let Lu Changsheng engage the talisman formation. Ancestor Jin's eyes narrowed slightly, pondering in his heart. It was now impossible to confront by Lake Mountain straight on. The only option was to look for an opportunity to strike at Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge in the dark. Elder Jin, if you admit defeat now, it's still not too late. At this moment, Lu Changsheng spoke towards the golden mallet in the talisman formation. Although he could take this opportunity to severely injure or even suppress the golden mallet completely, doing so would bring about many unnecessary troubles. Kill! The golden mallet ignored him like a crazed demon, his eyes wild and domineering, soul shaking, and he continued to roar angrily. He could not accept this outcome. He had formed a false core and had spent a fortune at Jiuxiao Immortal City to bid on a chaos bead that could disturb mana mechanisms and formations. Yet still, he was no match for Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Lu Changsheng remained calm and indifferent, beginning to detonate the talisman formation. Boom, 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 boom. With every explosion of a talisman, everyone present trembled in fear. The talisman formation was far too terrifying. Anyone trapped within would be chilled to the bone. Under several assaults, the golden mallet's protective aura was blasted open, his body scorched, and then he spat out fresh blood, his face pale and breath feeble. Lu Mountain Lord, please hold back. This battle is lost by our Jin family, Ancestor Jin said, seeing the situation. Continuing the fight would mean the golden mallet would be severely injured if not killed. And he could see that something was wrong with the golden mallet, who had turned manic and lost coherence. I'm not willing to accept this. Seeing Lu Changsheng stop, the golden mallet roared and spat out another mouthful of blood, fainting. Today was supposed to be the joyous celebration of his core formation, expected to be splendid. He had hoped to take this opportunity to wash away previous humiliation and reclaim White Tiger Mountain. But instead, he was defeated by Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge in front of such a large crowd. It likely wouldn't be long before this affair spread throughout the entire Qingyun region, even across the Jiang country cultivation realm. Everyone would know that he, Jin Zan the False Core Immortal, had challenged two Foundation establishment cultivators and lost. We've won. The Lu couple has actually won. Although they relied on the talisman formation, such combat strength is astounding. If there were enough talismans, I suspect Lu Changsheng could directly suppress Jin Zan. By Lake Mountain, Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoge. Seeing Jin Zan pass out, everyone's expressions were shocked, incredulous, and in utter disbelief at Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. No one had expected Jin Zan to lose so miserably, so completely, especially Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yinyang. Both were completely speechless at this moment, feeling as if they were in a dream. They had both broken through Foundation establishment earlier than Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. But now, while they were still loitering at the initial stage of Foundation establishment, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge had grown to be able to suppress a true pill master. Ancestor Jean, such a fight is hard to pull back from for someone like me. Please forgive me. Lu Changsheng gathered the 99 mysterious true strategy, looking greatly spent, and gave a slight bow to Ancestor Jean. Fighting technique is blind. Mountain Lord Lu need not take it to heart. As for the bet, the issues with Monkey Hill and the Spirit Stones, this old man will make arrangements for Mountain Lord Lu. Ancestor Jean took a deep breath and said with a solemn voice to Lu Changsheng. He then checked on Jean Zan, saw that it was only injuries and blood loss causing fainting, and had people take Jean Zan back to rest. Now that the battle has concluded, everyone please return to Golden Dragon Villa. Chapter 1088, Gamble Fight, Defeat Jean Zan again. _6 Chapter 1088, Chapter 383, Gamble Fight, Defeat Jean Zan again. _6 Ancestor of Jean family spoke up loudly to the spectators, indicating he was somewhat bored with the core formation ceremony. Everyone returned to Golden Dragon Villa, filled with emotion. Lu Mountain Lord, Lady Lu's divine power is remarkable. I have long heard of Lu Mountain Lord's fame with talisman formation, and seeing it today, it indeed lives up to the reputation. I wonder if Lu Mountain Lord is considering taking disciples, my daughter. At this time, several Foundation establishment cultivators stepped forward, cozying up to Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, their expressions and words filled with respect and awe. Before this, although Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge were quite famous, many knew that fame often involved a lot of fluff. Seeing the divine skills of Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge today truly shocked and awed them. It probably won't take long for today's events to spread throughout the entire Qingyun region and into the cultivation world of Jiang country. The reputation of the couple from Blue Lake Mountain Lu family will rise yet another level, and the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family will be treated as a false core family, rather than just a common Foundation establishment family. However, among these people, one had a rigid and ugly expression. It was the family patriarch from Monkey Mountain of the Tao family. Because of Jean Zan's defeat, it was tantamount to his Monkey Mountain being lost. Due to the duel between Lu Changsheng and Jean Zan, the core formation celebration at Golden Dragon Ridge was wrapped up prematurely. After all, with such an incident, not only did Jean Zan, the great elder of the Jean family, lose face, but the entire Golden Dragon Ridge lost its dignity. If it weren't for having reservations, the ancestor of Jean family even thought about killing Lu Changsheng right there at Golden Dragon Ridge. However, he still adhered to the bet and gave 30,000 spirit stones to Lu Changsheng, noting that moving from Monkey Mountain would require 3 months. Lu Changsheng did not say much upon hearing this. He went to White Tiger Mountain and handed this matter over to his son, Lu Pingan, to take over Monkey Mountain. Want a Monkey Mountain from the duel? Lu Pingan, Lu Qingsong, and others were stunned upon hearing that their father and aunt had gone to the Jean family ceremony and had actually won a spirit land. You know, the Tao family from Monkey Mountain had 2 Foundation establishment cultivators stationed there. However, after hearing about the matter, they too were filled with emotion and excitement. The family not only procured an additional spirit vein at Monkey Mountain, but their father's and aunt's powers were now comparable to that of a false core immortal. This is interesting. I remember originally those 3 Foundation establishment cultivators who came to our White Tiger Mountain to cause trouble, led by Tao Jizhong, an elder from Dragonlight Commerce Chamber, is actually the Foundation establishment ancestor from this Monkey Mountain, and now this family spirit land has become ours. At this moment, Lu Qingsong spoke out with a laugh. Oh, is that so? Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrow. He simply thought Monkey Mountain was geographically advantageous, being close to White Tiger Mountain. He planned it for a second-order middle-grade spirit vein, suitable for the spiritual wine business, and did not remember the matter with Dragonlight Commerce Chamber. However, he didn't pay much attention, and after explaining the situation to his children, he and Lu Miaoge returned to Blue Lake Mountain. Days later, news of Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge defeating Jin Zan gradually fermented and spread. Suppressing a false core immortal, really? Even if this great elder of the Jin family has just broken through to false core, lacking magical treasures and divine skills, he's not someone a foundation establishment cultivator can contend with. In my early years, I heard of the deeds of this couple from Lu, thought it was exaggerated. With this couple stationed at Blue Lake Mountain, it's already equivalent to a false core family. Still, it cannot be compared. The couple always needs someone in closed-door cultivation. They can't always be out together. Regardless, Golden Dragon Ridge has really lost face this time. At this time, the topic continued fermenting, causing countless people to discuss fervently, and even many loose cultivators came to join Blue Lake Mountain. And some female cultivators, thinking of getting close to Lu ancestor who loved to marry and take concubines, wondered if they would be thrown out considering his wife, Lu Miaoge, and their ulterior motives. Not only that, this incident also sparked a wave of discussions at Blue Lake Mountain, and many children began to take an interest in the talisman path. Chapter 1089, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Chapter 1089. Chapter 384, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Yu Country, Jinyang Sect, Tianyuan Peak. Inside a great hall. Little Zhu, if the foundation establishment doesn't go smoothly, don't force it. Just give up and start over. Don't hurt yourself. As for the foundation establishment, elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects, brother has plenty. If it's not enough, he'll go to the Fire Luo sect later and set up a competition platform. Lu Qingshan advised aloud, taking out porcelain vials and brocade boxes from his storage bag. After many years of cultivation, Lu Qingzhu has finally reached the perfection of qi refinement and is ready to attempt foundation establishment. Her master, Tianyuan True Immortal, had prepared a set of foundation establishment resources for her. However, in Lu Qingshan's view, one set of foundation establishment resources certainly wasn't enough. He had been saving foundation establishment resources for his sister early on. By now, he had saved up 6 foundation establishment elixirs and 15 foundation establishment spiritual objects. Brother, Lu Qingzhu gave her brother a disapproving look on hearing these words. She hadn't even started foundation establishment yet, and her brother was already saying such things. However, she also knew that her brother was worried she might force herself to break through, resulting in a backlash failure that could damage her vital energy. Although with foundation establishment elixirs, failing to break through wouldn't be dangerous. But if she failed during the process of condensing her Tao foundation, it could still cause some damage, requiring a long time to recover. All right, my little Zhu will definitely succeed. Seeing his sister's indignant expression, Lu Qingshan pinched her fair cheeks and said with a chuckle. He then began to guide Lu Qingzhu in her breakthrough, acting as her protector. Brother, when did you save up so many foundation establishment elixirs and spiritual objects? Lu Qingzhu looked at the porcelain vials and brocade boxes in front of her, feeling moved, and asked softly. It wasn't much effort. I just won a foundation establishment elixir from Gu Yinyang the other day when he challenged me to a duel. The last time I went to the Primordial Sect, I won 3 foundation establishment spiritual objects in the competition arena, and during the trip to ancient Moon Immortal City, Lu Qingshan, with eyebrows like swords and eyes like stars, proudly and carelessly said, So little Zhu, you don't need to feel pressured. For your brother, such foundation establishment resources are really just a trifle. MHM. Lu Qingzhu softly responded, but said nothing else. She naturally did not believe the resources were that easy to come by. Foundation establishment elixirs and spiritual objects were extremely rare, often priceless. Especially since the foundation establishment spiritual objects prepared by her brother were very suitable for her, clearly requiring a lot of time and effort. How could it be as carefree as Lu Qingshan had said? But she knew that her brother said this, so she wouldn't feel pressured. Once little Zhu breaks through Foundation establishment, we will go home for a visit. Dad, Mom, Annie, and Grandfather will certainly be delighted to see us, both having established our foundations. Lu Qingshan ruffled his sister's hair, smiling as he spoke. But his heart weighed down slightly when he mentioned Grandfather. Both siblings were not young anymore. Their grandfather, Lu Yuanding, was merely an energy-refining cultivator. Even though he had taken lifespan extension pills, his lifespan was limited. This trip back home could very well be the last time they saw their grandfather. Lu Qingzhu also had some longing for her family. Not long ago, their parents had sent a letter saying there were new additions to the family, two siblings named Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian. Immediately, Lu Qingzhu swallowed a Foundation establishment elixir and began her attempt at Foundation establishment. Congratulations to the host for 70 offspring successfully channeling qi into the body, embarking on the immortal path, and gaining the bloodline effect. Offspring's comprehension enhanced by 3%, with one lucky draw opportunity. That day, a system notification rang in Lu Changsheng's mind. 70 at last. Lu Changsheng paused and thought. Nearly 10 years had passed since 50 of his children had channeled qi into their bodies. This was a drawback of selective breeding for better offspring. While the quality of his children improved, the rate of increase slowed down. I wonder if this increase in comprehension will have any noticeable effect. Lu Changsheng looked at the bloodline buff, musing internally. The system had previously granted a 3% increase in comprehension, but he had not noticed any significant improvement in his children's comprehension. Without much further thought, Lu Changsheng silently wished, drawling, "Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Dragon Blood Tree. Reward has been delivered to the system space. The host can check it at any time." A Dragon Blood Tree? A heaven and earth spiritual plant? Lu Changsheng looked at the reward he received, pleasantly surprised. He was always eager for more heaven and earth spiritual plants. After all, with the heavenly longevity technique, for each heaven and earth spiritual plant he could allow a concubine or child in his family to cultivate this technique and solve any talent issues. His mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked at the description of the Dragon Blood Tree in the system space. Spirit Plant, Dragon Blood Tree, Grade, 3rd rank, Description, originally a 1,000-year-old iron tree, transformed by the nourishment of a flood dragon's flesh and blood that fell beside it. The timber can be used to forge magical treasures. No special effects. Lu Changsheng read about the Dragon Blood Tree. The luminous treasure tree and the 5 elements fruit tree he had received before produced luminous sweet dew and 5 element spirit fruits, respectively. This Dragon Blood Tree was merely a pure treasure tree. Whom shall I give it to? Naturally, Lu Changsheng would not use the Dragon Blood Tree to forge magical treasures. He pondered over whom to let cultivate the heavenly longevity technique with this treasure tree. There were too many concubines and children in the family who needed the heavenly longevity technique. Even with the system, it was impossible to take care of them all. After a moment, Lu Changsheng decided to give the Dragon Blood Tree to his son, Lu Xinji. Lu Xinji possessed a 9th grade spiritual root. Without great fortune, he had no chance of Foundation establishment in this lifetime. If he could cultivate the heavenly longevity technique, it would be best. However, Lu Changsheng decided to give a Dragon Blood Tree to this son not solely because of Lu Xianxi's spiritual root and age. Chapter 1090, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Chapter 1090, Chapter 384, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Also considered the contribution to the family. This son, albeit quite mediocre, is diligent and earnest in his dealings and conduct. Once told to learn puppetry technique, he devoted himself entirely to it. After entrusting him with a puppet workshop, he dedicated all his time and energy to it. If not for the welfare currently available at by Lake Mountain, As the person in charge of the puppet workshop and a Lu family elder, it would be impossible for Lu Xianxia to still be at the 6th level energy refinement with the abundance of elixir medicine's resources. Sigh. Lu Changshang sighed softly when he thought of his son. Lu Xianxia was his first child with a spiritual root, and he initially paid much attention to him. But as the number of wives and children increased, his attention dwindled, and Lu Xianxia himself was of an introverted and somber demeanor, always burying himself in work, never boasting about his achievements, barely noticeable within the family. Now that Pingon is almost taking over Monkey Child Mountain, it's a good time to make a visit. Lu Changsheng, not being overly sentimental, informed Lu Miaoyun and then set off for White Tiger Mountain. He was planning to give the Dragon Blood Tree and Heavenly Longevity Technique to his son, Lu Xianxia. This Dragon Blood Tree, originally an iron tree, was quite suitable planted on White Tiger Mountain. In the Grand Hall of White Tiger Mountain, Heavenly Longevity Technique, refinement of a lifespan spiritual plant. After hearing his father's words, Lu Xianxia was silent for a moment before bowing deeply to Lu Changsheng. Thank you, Father. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are the natural course of life. I have long let go of any thoughts about foundation establishment, and am quite content with life as it is. Although cultivating this heavenly longevity technique could allow one to break through to foundation establishment and even aim for core formation, for me to achieve it alone and ultimately watch Tiaoer and Xianyu and others pass away one by one, I truly cannot accept it, so I will not cultivate this heavenly longevity technique. Dressed in a wide blue robe, mature and steady-faced, Lu Xianxia said so. The heavenly longevity technique, though excellent, ultimately only confines one to a place to watch his wives, children, and even siblings pass away one by one. He is unwilling to endure that. Lu Changsheng was momentarily stunned, not expecting his son to verbally refuse. However, he could understand Lu Xianxi's thoughts. Cultivation is indeed wonderful, but also exceedingly harsh. Successful cultivation means watching close friends and relatives die off. This is why many cultivators choose to live alone, unencumbered. He had worried about this matter in his early years, but as time passed, he gradually became indifferent, knowing that birth, aging, sickness, and death are the natural courses of human life. All right, if you change your mind, you can always talk to me. Lu Changsheng did not try to persuade or force him. His son was already grown up with his own ideas. Thank you, Father. A faint smile appeared on the mature and steady face of Lu Xianxia, knowing of his father's partiality towards him. His wife often mentioned that his father favored him, yet being a reserved person, he didn't know how to seek further affection from him. He was very much aware of these dynamics, but he was someone content with his lot, knowing that with his own spiritual root, talent, and capabilities, if not for being born in the Lu family and valued by his father's favor, his life would far be worse off in any other family force. Thus, he always harbored a grateful heart, easily satisfied. I plan to go and check out Monkey Child Mountain, and you should also go get acquainted with the situation. Lu Changsheng looked at his son and spoke. Yes, Father. Lu Xianxia nodded in response. Soon the two made their way to Monkey Child Mountain. The journey from White Tiger Mountain to Monkey Child Mountain wasn't far, about 300 li. In less than an hour, Lu Changsheng and Lu Xianxia arrived at Monkey Child Mountain. Is this Monkey Child Mountain? Lu Changsheng looked ahead at Monkey Child Mountain, noting its resemblance to Qingzhou Mountain. But instead of the abundant green bamboo of Qingzhou Mountain, Monkey Child Mountain was covered with fruit trees. The spirit boat landed at the mountain gate. Greetings to Lu Ancestor. Greetings to the Mountain Lord. At this moment, at the gate of Monkey Child Mountain, besides Tao family cultivators, several White Tiger Mountain cultivators were present. Lu Changsheng nodded his head, and with Lu Xianxia entered Monkey Child Mountain, scrutinizing the situation inside. After a while, Lu Pingon, hearing of Lu Changsheng's arrival, hurried over. Father, Xianxia. Lu Pingon, dressed in silver armor, with a tall and imposing stature, conveyed a sense of solemnity and majesty. Pingon, What's the current situation at Monkey Child Mountain? How is the Tao family's relocation going? Lu Changsheng asked his son. Father, the Tao family has almost finished moving. It should be completely done in about half a month. But there are a few matters that need your decision. Lu Ping'an spoke. Lu Changsheng asked, Oh, what's the matter? According to the agreement you made with the Jin family initially, when Monkey Child Mountain was handed over to us, we were not to damage the formation, spirit vein, buildings, nor the spirit fields and fruit trees. However, it didn't say we can't pick the fruits on the trees. The Tao family is willing to compromise on ordinary fruits, but there are 12 second-ranked spirit peach trees on the main vein of the mountain. These spirit peach trees will be mature in about half a year, and the Tao family has expressed that they either pick these peaches now or wait until they mature and take 70% of them. Moreover, with the Tao family leaving, we temporarily do not have enough farmers or spiritual plant masters to take care of the fruit trees. Lu Ping'an scratched his head, somewhat troubled. He did not really enjoy interacting and handling such matters. Second-ranked spirit peach trees? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows twitched, and he spoke, I'll go have a look. The trio then went to the main vein of Monkey Child Mountain. Lu Ancestor. Seeing Lu Changsheng, the Tao family patriarch bowed with some unease. Chapter 1091. Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Chapter 1091. Chapter 384. Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. After all, handing over one's own spirit land so readily, one could hardly maintain a good countenance. Tao Laozu. Lu Changsheng gave a slight nod, having seen the other party before at Golden Dragon Ridge. However, only a few months had passed, and the others seemed to have aged considerably. I heard from my son that you wish to wait for the spiritual peach trees to mature and then split the produce 30 to 70. Lu Changsheng, in a green magical robe, stood tall and straight. Indeed, according to the agreement made with Lu Ancestor and Jin Laozu that day, it was said not to destroy the fruit trees in the mountain, but it was not said that the fruits couldn't be taken. The common spiritual fruit trees in the mountain, my Tao family is willing to give all to Lu Ancestor. But these 12 spiritual peach trees, my Tao family has spent a lot of time and effort cultivating them, and it will only be half a year until maturity. We do not wish to pick them prematurely and waste them. The Tao family patriarch said very politely. After all, if Lu Changsheng were to be unreasonable, issuing a challenge by saying try and pick them, they would indeed not dare to pick, and at most they could go to the Jin family to make a complaint. But it's highly unlikely that the Jin family would come to blows with Lu Changsheng over such a matter. Even if they did intervene, they would want to take the majority of the spiritual peaches. A split of 70 to 30 is too much, but I have a few conditions. If Tao Laozu is willing, I may even give you all these spiritual peaches. Lu Changsheng stated directly. What conditions? Asked the Tao family patriarch. I need your Tao family to arrange some fruit farmers to take care of the trees in the mountain for 1 year. And about the cultivation methods of the fruit trees in the mountain, the planting techniques, and your Tao family's winemaking heritage. Lu Changsheng spoke. At the time he gambled on Monkey Hill, he was not too clear about the specific circumstances and hadn't considered much. Now he's realized that taking over Monkey Hill requires a transition, just as when he took over by Lake Mountain. Lu Ancestor's conditions. Might they be a bit too harsh? The Tao family patriarch's face looked somewhat distressed, already extremely frustrated with having surrendered the spirit land so readily, continuing to help with the care, and also surrendering the cultivation methods for fruit trees and wine brewing techniques. Research generation after generation was akin to throwing away the roots of the Tao family. Rest assured, I, Lu Changsheng, am not such a domineering person. If you can provide these heritages, I can also offer you a corresponding second-tier wine brewing heritage, or another second-ranked talisman path heritage, second-tier pill path heritage. Lu someone has them all. Lu Changsheng said with a calm expression, although he's a second-tier top-level wine master. Having the Tao family's existing wine brewing heritage would mean that he only needs to understand the general process, then he could analyze and optimize it, without the need to spend too much time in this area. The cultivation methods for fruit trees were the same. Although he could ask Xianxia to study these fruit trees, it would still take too much time and effort. Rather, it's better to directly acquire the Tao family's heritage in this area. This way, his own family can then look to optimize and improve the situation, making it simpler and saving time. This matter is of great importance. I need to consider it. The Tao family patriarch's face changed from cloudy to sunny as he spoke. Now that they no longer have Monkey Hill, the value of these fruit trees cultivation methods and wine brewing techniques isn't as great. It's just that these belong to the family's ancestral knowledge and efforts, and they're reluctant to give it up so easily. But Lu Changxing's words were tempting. Okay, Tao Laozu can take your time to consider it. If you decide, just inform me. And although I did not agree with Jin Zan about picking the fruits, since it was said not to damage the trees in the mountain, naturally picking the fruits also constitutes damage. So Tao Laozu should not deceive yourself. Lu Changsheng gave the Tao family patriarch a deep look with a calm and indifferent voice. Under his gaze, the Tao family patriarch's heart gave a fierce thump. Recalling the day at Golden Dragon Ridge, when Lu Changsheng deployed the talisman formation to suppress Jin Zan, the Tao family patriarch replied with a somewhat bitter voice, "Tao someone understands." Lu Changsheng did not go on speaking, took his two sons for inspection around Monkey Hill, feeling that the spirit land here was not bad. The only thing was the name Monkey Hill did not sound very good. He was considering whether to change the name when the time comes. Chapter 1092. The Children Break Through to Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Chapter 1092. Chapter 385. The Children Break Through to Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Golden Dragon Ridge. Lu Changsheng has gone to Monkey Hill alone. Upon hearing the report from below, the ancestor of Jin family's eyes narrowed slightly, cold and profound. Since the core formation ceremony, after witnessing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge join forces to suppress Jin Zan, a killing intent had taken root in his heart, contemplating the elimination of the two in secret. Otherwise, allowing the pair to continue growing was far too terrifying. Now learning that Lu Changsheng had ventured out alone, without Lu Miaoge, a surge of murderous intent welled up in his heart. This lad has obtained the legacy of the talisman path. The third-rank talisman used by Ling Zixiao back then could very likely be related to him. If this lad still has third-rank talismans in his possession, the ancestor of Jin family's hands clenched into fists unconsciously, his mind wavering indecisively. Given the relationship between their families, if Lu Changsheng were to die mysteriously near Monkey Hill, many would suspect the Jin family. If this led to a complete fallout with Bihu Mountain, it wouldn't bode well for the Jin family either. However, what worried him most was whether he could kill Lu Changsheng in one blow. After all, the rapid rise of Lu Changsheng over the past decades and his myriad methods demanded utmost caution, and the ancestor had witnessed the power of Lu Changsheng's talisman formation himself. He knew if he failed to kill Lu Changsheng immediately, it would become extremely difficult to do so afterward. This lad so brazenly heads to Monkey Hill. Perhaps it's the signal to me that he's venturing out alone, awaiting my move. After much contemplation, the ancestor of Jin family's murderous gleam subsided, and he decided to hold back. He would wait until he could procure something that could counter talisman formations or ensure a fatal blow, not allowing Lu Changsheng to escape, and then take action. Let this lad be arrogant for a few more days. The expression of the ancestor of Jin family was icy cold. At this moment, Lu Changsheng was unaware of the ancestor of Jin family's intent to harm him. After patrolling Monkey Hill with Lu Xianxia and returning to White Tiger Mountain, he disguised himself and, along with Thousand Faces Puppet Fox, lay in wait outside Golden Dragon Ridge. Although Jinzan had been severely injured by him previously, and it was unlikely the Jin family would stir trouble soon, based on his understanding of the Jin family and Jinzan, it was impossible for them to let the matter lie. Thus, to play it safe, he decided to kill one of the two Jin family members with a false core. However, after half a month of surveillance, Lu Changxing gave up. It was too exhausting, constantly on alert. Any passerby would require confirmation through divine sense to ensure they were not the ancestor of Jin family or Jinzan in disguise. Let's just wait for the Jin family to make a move. Lu Changsheng sighed. As the Lu ancestor, he had never done anything this taxing in his entire cultivation journey. Moreover, with Jinzan recently wounded by him, it was unlikely he would venture out anytime soon. He would probably recuperate at home, practice divine skills, and nourish his magical treasures. And since the ancestor of Jin family seldom left home, Lu Changsheng had no clue when the ancestor would be out and about, making it uncertain how long he would have to wait. Bihu Mountain. What? Azure Phoenix Immortal has gone missing. Upon returning to the Lu family mansion, Lu Changsheng received shocking news from his wife during their casual conversation. Yes, everyone suspected Azure Phoenix Immortal didn't appear because of serious injuries. But after more than a year, many powers have probed Azure Phoenix Immortal City, and White Peak Immortal, who had previously challenged Azure Phoenix Immortal, also made a public challenge. But Azure Phoenix Immortal never showed up. So now, rumors are spreading that Azure Phoenix Immortal has most likely left Jiang country to seize an opportunity for a breakthrough to the nascent soul in a fourth-rank immortal city. Lu Miaoyun spoke softly. Leaving Jiang country to seek a breakthrough to nascent soul opportunity in a fourth-rank immortal city. Lu Changsheng felt that this was highly likely. In earlier years, he had discussed with Li Feiyu and knew that Azure Phoenix Immortal was already several hundred years old. If she did not attempt a nascent soul breakthrough, her condition might decline, affecting her chances of success. Staying in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Azure Phoenix Immortal would have no chance of breaking through to nascent soul. Only by leaving Azure Phoenix Immortal City and heading to a fourth-rank immortal city to find the right opportunity could she hope to break through to nascent soul. Azure Phoenix Immortal has built the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Over the hundreds of years, the accumulated wealth is vast. Moreover, with her strength, if she is willing to join a power, surely quite a few nascent soul-level powers would extend an olive branch, offering her access to a fourth-order spirit vein, Lu Changsheng stated. The Heavenly Sword sect was unwilling to see Azure Phoenix Immortal achieve a nascent soul breakthrough. But other nascent soul-level powers in various cultivation nations seemed willing to make such offers. What is the current situation of Azure Phoenix Immortal City? Lu Changsheng continued to inquire. Without Azure Phoenix Immortal to anchor it, the Immortal City might very likely change hands. He had previously sent a letter to Azure Phoenix Immortal City to inquire about the situation with Li Feiyu. Li Feiyu just indicated that he would take extra care and told Lu Changsheng to rest easy, advising him to avoid Azure Phoenix Immortal City if possible in the meantime. Now, it's just that the rumors are escalating, causing panic in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Many loose cultivators are leaving, and no power has made a move against Azure Phoenix Immortal City yet. But if things continue as they are, with Azure Phoenix Immortal remaining absent, it's estimated that in a few years at most, powers will act against Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Lu Miaoyun said softly, her tone laced with melancholy. Since her childhood, she had heard of the great name of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, a haven for loose cultivators. She had even once dreamed of visiting this immortal city. But now, she was hearing that this immortal city might soon decline and perish. Also, there are rumors that many loose cultivators have flowed into the marketplace of spirit-taming sect due to the instability in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. But with too many newcomers in competition for resources, incidents of robbery have become frequent, affecting the order within the region boundary of spirit-taming sect. Lu Miaoyun continued. Although the situation with Azure Phoenix Immortal City didn't affect the Qingyun sect. The neighboring spirit-taming sect had already been impacted. Sigh, there's never been true peace in the cultivation world. Chapter 1093. Children break through foundation establishment, spiritual embryo of heaven and earth. Chapter 1093. Chapter 385. Children break through foundation establishment, spiritual embryo of heaven and earth. Lu Changsheng shook his head and sighed. In the Jiang country cultivation realm, the spirit-taming sect, due to its proximity to the myriad beast mountain range, has always had the worst public order and the most robber cultivators. Now, under the influence of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, the public order has worsened, and it is expected that many cultivators will again flee to Qingyun sect, Wuxia sect, and Heavenly Sword sect. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, half a year has passed. During these days, Lu Changsheng has been cultivating the yin-yang primordial elixir method at home and has condensed 6 elemental elixirs. For the matter of Flower Fruit Mountain, the Tao family ultimately agreed to provide methods for nurturing and planting fruit trees, as well as the family's fruit wine brewing techniques. However, they demanded 1 portion of the second-order top grade talisman path heritage and 3 second-order top grade talismans. Faced with this demand, Lu Changsheng naturally did not agree and only gave 1 second-order top grade talisman. They really think second-order top grade talismans grow on trees. He subsequently sent a message to Zhao Qingqing, asking her to help look after the spiritual fruit trees on Flower Fruit Mountain, to see if there is any need for optimization or improvement in the planting and cultivation process. Also, Lu Changsheng renamed Monkey Mountain to Flower Fruit Mountain. Many family forces are reluctant to change names because it's very inconvenient having to mention the old name after the change, as no one would recognize the new one. It might take years, even decades, for people to remember a new name. But Lu Changsheng didn't care. He didn't need people to remember the new name of Flower Fruit Mountain right now. Father, this day, Lu Qingxian came to find Lu Changsheng. He expressed that he was ready and could attempt foundation establishment at any time. All right, since you're prepared, let's start now. Lu Changsheng noticed his son's spiritual power was well-rounded and satisfactory. His mindset stable and calm, not arrogant or impulsive, and nodded. He did not let his son break through to the foundation establishment in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. It wasn't that he didn't want to tell him about the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, simply because over the years, nobody in the Lu family had achieved foundation establishment openly in public. Since Lu Qingxian, as a widely recognized talent with a 4th-grade spiritual root and born of a concubine. Thus, Lu Changsheng thought it might be good for him to break through at Baiyin Peak, creating some commotion to set an example for his family and inspire them. As for attracting trouble by having one more foundation establishment cultivator in the family, Lu Changsheng wasn't too worried. After all, compared to defeating Jin Zan with Lu Miaoge, this matter was less conspicuous. Yes, father. Lu Qingxian, seeing how casual his father was about his foundation establishment, felt somewhat dejected. But thinking about his father's accomplishments, such a trivial foundation establishment would naturally not be deemed important by him. Don't pressure yourself too much. Foundation establishment is just the beginning of cultivation. Lu Changsheng patted his son's shoulder and said softly, "Yes, father." Lu Qingxian, resolved, nodded in response. Then, the two went to the back mountain, where Lu Qingxian sat cross-legged and solemnly began operating the Thunderfire 9 arts cultivation technique, preparing to strike at foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng acted as his protector nearby. Being a father, he wasn't usually very attentive, so naturally, he stayed nearby to guard during such an occasion. Moreover, foundation establishment was prone to errors despite prior instructions on important points. Being beside him, he could intervene and provide guidance the moment something went awry to prevent accidents. This was the benefit of having a master and elder to protect. After a long while, Lu Qingxian felt his essence, qi, and spirit were filled to the brim, in peak condition, and without further hesitation, he ingested the Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir. Boom! His chi ocean core roared and surged with spiritual power, spreading through his limbs and filling his entire body, creating a tidal wave of spiritual pressure that caused the nature's spiritual energy to violently rush towards him. It's starting. Lu Changsheng watched quietly as his son began his foundation establishment. His son was only 35 years old, practicing an off-mainstream level cultivation technique, Thunder Fire 9 Arts, with a foundation establishment elixir, so the 3 obstacles of foundation establishment shouldn't pose any problem. Moreover, considering his son had undergone too little tempering and his mental fortitude might be lacking, Lu Changxing also prepared a divine sense foundation establishment object for him to ensure a flawless attempt. Just then, a system notification suddenly sounded in Lu Changxing's mind, accompanied by a surge of rich and pure mana. Congratulations, host. 5 of your progeny have achieved the foundation establishment stage. Bloodline effect. Progeny's spiritual body inheritance rate increased by 1%. Receive 1 advanced draw opportunity. Lu Changsheng was startled and a bit puzzled. What's going on? Lu Qingxian had just started. How did he already achieve the foundation establishment stage? But Lu Changsheng instantly realized it must be his other children reaching foundation establishment. Who is it? At this moment, Lu Changsheng genuinely did not know which child had achieved foundation establishment. After all, he has 7 children at the 9th level of energy refinement, and 4 of them were outside. After a while, Lu Changxing knew which child had achieved it. Name: Lu Qingzhu. Lifespan: 41 of 231. Talent: 7th grade spiritual root. Cultivation level: 1st layer foundation establishment. Talent: talisman making compatibility, 35%. Little Zhu has achieved foundation establishment. Seeing that it was his daughter Lu Qingzhu who had achieved foundation establishment, a gentle and relieved smile appeared in Lu Changxing's eyes. His daughter merely possessed a 7th grade spiritual root, making foundation establishment quite challenging. Now seeing his daughter having succeeded, Lu Changxing was very happy and wished to inform his wife, Lu Miaoga, immediately. Only, such a matter couldn't really be explained to his wife. I wonder if Qingzhu and little Zhu will come back later. Lu Changsheng felt a bit longing. He had always been very fond of these 2 children. Yet because they went to Jinyang sect, they had only gathered twice in over 30 years. Actually, regarding Lu Qingshan, Lu Changsheng felt okay. He thought this son's personality made him suitable for striving on his own outside. Chapter 1094. The Children's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Chapter 1094. Chapter 385. The Children's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. He has always been deeply concerned about his daughter, Lu Qingzhu, worried that she might be bullied outside and hoped she could stay safely at home. But with the siblings depending on each other in the outside world, it was impossible to let only Lu Qingshan stay out while bringing Lu Qingzhu back home. However, with Qingshan there, little Zhu shouldn't be bullied. Lu Changsheng muttered to himself with a soft sigh, not overly sentimental, and continued to focus on Lu Qingxian before him. Time passed by slowly. Lu Qingxian had completed the 3 stages of foundation establishment. In the Qi Ocean core within his Dantian, the misty, liquid mana spread out, beginning to condense into a Tao foundation. The 3 stages of foundation establishment, apart from the divine sense stage, which was somewhat lacking, the other 2 stages are quite perfect. Lu Changsheng's expression was calm, knowing that his son should be able to condense a flawless foundation base. A flawless foundation base was already quite impressive. To achieve a perfect foundation base, one would need not only to improve one's temperament further, but also to use countless heavenly and earthly treasures to refine the physical body, mana, and foundation before there was some hope. Of course, if Lu Changsheng was willing, giving him the 5-element spirit fruit to consume might result in a perfect foundation base. But the 5-element spirit fruit tree in the system space wasn't planted yet, and Lu Changsheng was not yet indulgent to that extent. Hoo. As the third stage of foundation establishment broke, the nature's spiritual energy from the mountain behind suddenly sped up, beginning to surge wildly, forming a spiritual energy whirlpool several zhang in diameter in the sky. What's happening? This is a spiritual energy whirlpool. Someone is undergoing foundation establishment. Foundation establishment, who within the family is attempting it. Is it Xianxia or Wangshu, or which Ani? The anomaly of the nature's spiritual energy immediately drew the attention of many people around by Lake Mountain to the back of Baiyun Peak, stirring up a flurry of envious, longing, and excited discussions. After all, the family was welcoming another foundation establishment great cultivator, a great event, especially since not long ago, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge won Monkey Mountain from the Jin family, and the family needed a foundation establishment great cultivator to preside over it. Xian'er, on a pavilion, Xiaoyao dressed in a goose-yellow palace dress, her black hair neatly combed into an elegant chignon, clutched a handkerchief tightly in her hands with a gentle and graceful face full of nervousness, looking towards the back mountain. She knew that it was her son, Lu Qingxian, who was attempting the foundation establishment. Although there were many foundation establishment cultivators at Bai Lake Mountain nowadays, for Xiao Yuyao, foundation establishment cultivators were no longer so unattainable and mighty. But for her own son's foundation establishment breakthrough, she was filled with anticipation and surprise. It looks like he should have achieved a flawless foundation base. In the Lu family mansion, Lu Miaoge murmured softly while looking at the spiritual energy swirl, and then gently said to the beside her, Wangshu, it's almost time for your breakthrough, isn't it? Father said, let me not rush to breakthrough. Wait until I'm more familiar with the spiritual patterns before I attempt foundation establishment. Lu Wangshu, who was playing with Lu Qingxian, said listlessly. Over the years, seeing Lu Lingxiao's cultivation speed, she worried that she might be surpassed by him one day. Thus, she thought of achieving foundation establishment earlier to maintain her dignity as an elder sister, but her father disapproved. Your father is doing this for your good. The 99 mystical talisman scripture you practice belongs to the type that builds up a strong foundation before making a breakthrough. Lu Miaoge spoke soothingly, knowing that this daughter before her was a true genius. Once she breaks through to foundation establishment, with the accumulated foundation, she'd probably be not much inferior to her son, Lu Qingshan. Thus, under everyone's attention and discussion, half a month passed. That day, a faint halo of colors rose from the spiritual energy swirl behind Baiyun Peak, and then slowly faded away. Spiritual aura manifesting as a halo. That means the breakthrough was successful. Apart from Big Brother, our family now has another foundation establishment cultivator. Foundation establishment, we still have foundation establishment elixirs in the family. As long as I quickly reach the peak of 9th level energy refinement, I could also hope to break through. I wonder if the family will still have any foundation establishment elixirs left by the time I reach the 9th level of energy refinement. Many Lu family disciples paid close attention to the situation, feeling encouraged, but also an added sense of urgency. Although the family has foundation establishment elixirs, everyone thought these were limited in number, and one might miss out by being too slow. Therefore, even amongst siblings, something like foundation establishment was worth competing for. Behind the cliff of Baiyun Peak. Father. Lu Qingxian, immediately after the successful breakthrough, opened his eyes, looking excited and joyously called out to Lu Changsheng. Even though in previous years Lu Changsheng arranged for him to be tempered in the marketplace, increasing his maturity at this moment, having succeeded in his foundation establishment breakthrough, there was still an uncontrollable joy in his heart. Qingxian, congratulations on your foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng's face showed a smile as he said to his son, now take your time to experience the transformation of the foundation establishment baptism. Later your father has a gift for you. Yes, father. Lu Qingxian closed his eyes again, knowing that it was not the time for great joy or sorrow. After Lu Qingxian completed the Foundation Establishment baptism, his entire being, essence, qi, and spirit, visibly changed, his body emanating a faintly intense and powerful aura. "Let's go, we'll see your mother." Lu Changsheng spoke, going with his son to see the concubine, Xiao Yuyao. "Master, Qingxian." In the courtyard, Xiao Yuyao saw Lu Changsheng and his son Lu Qingxian arriving through the air, her expression stunned, and her eyes somewhat teary. In her life, she had experienced drastic ups and downs. In her early years, her family was destroyed, and she was sold into the White Jade Tower. She thought she had reached a dead end in life, but then met Lu Changsheng. Despite continually giving birth, the seventh child she bore not only possessed a spiritual root, but a fourth-grade spiritual root at that. And now, this son had even broken through to Foundation Establishment, becoming a Foundation Establishment great cultivator that her entire former family would have had to look up to. "Mother." Lu Qingxian came before his mother and bowed deeply. Chapter 1095. Sons and Daughters Break Through the Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. _4 Chapter 1095. Chapter 385. Sons and Daughters Break Through the Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. _4. Very good, very good. Xiao Yuyao wept tears of joy. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. "Yuyao, you've worked hard these years." Lu Changsheng stepped forward, holding Xiao Yuyao's hands, and said softly, "This servant has not suffered. To have met my lord is the luckiest thing in this servant's life," Xiao Yuyao said with a choked voice. After a brief catch-up, Lu Changsheng asked Lu Qingxian to go back and solidify his cultivation level, and to come to find him once his realm was stable. Then he told Lu Miaoyan to inform their son Lu Xingyang, and to arrange a simple Foundation Establishment ceremony at home to celebrate, inviting only a few familiar families. System: Draw the lottery. After delegating tasks, Lu Changsheng arrived at the summit of Blue Cloud Peak to start the advanced lottery he had obtained before. "I wonder what I could draw this time. Please, no more cultivation techniques," Lu Changsheng muttered to himself. Although the two previous lottery draws had yielded grand prizes like the Yin-Yang creation scripture, he truly feared the system might offer him another cultivation technique. Cultivation techniques of the orthodox level he could still teach at home. But cultivation techniques obtained from the advanced lottery had too high a threshold. None could be taught currently, so they were left to gather dust. Immediately, the advanced lottery wheel appeared, bathed in golden light, and eventually stopped at the heavenly and earthly treasure section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining Peachwood Spirit Womb. Reward has been issued to the system space. The host may check at any time. Instantly, an image of a blackened peach tree appeared, along with a system notification sound. Spiritual embryo? Lu Changsheng saw the prize, and his heart jolted. He immediately looked into the system space. Spiritual embryo. Peachwood Spirit Womb. Grade: 4th rank. Description: born from the spiritual mechanism where the 10,000-year peach gods would meet heaven and earth. If it reaches great success, it can transform into a true spirit. It really is a spiritual embryo of heaven and earth, but why is it only 4th rank? Lu Changsheng frowned slightly at the description of his prize. He hadn't expected the advanced lottery to have a 4th rank prize. But thinking about it, he realized it made sense. A regular lottery would only produce a 4th rank prize with extreme luck, and having 4th and 5th rank prizes in the advanced lottery was also normal. I wonder if this spiritual embryo is the same as what I've read in ancient texts. If it is Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed as he murmured to himself. He had come across the concept of spiritual embryos before in a handbook. Born not of flesh and blood, they were nourished by heaven and earth. Spiritual embryos come in many kinds. It could be a stone, a piece of jade, a piece of wood, or even an entire mountain, a river, or a flame, a blade of grass. Different from demons, spiritual embryos are born from the moment of life and death as a product of the yin and yang of the world, gradually nurtured into existence. In theory, such spiritual embryos can grow continuously, eventually becoming a true spirit, invincible in the world upon their emergence. However, for a spiritual embryo to grow into a true spirit is nearly impossible. Their very formation is exceedingly harsh, a sort of miracle. Every step of growth requires enduring long years and countless tribulations. Thus, the notion of such spiritual embryos growing into true spirits is mostly theoretical. Nevertheless, these nurturing spiritual embryo of heaven and earth are supremely treasured and incredibly rare for cultivators. Not only can they be used to refine great elixirs, increase cultivation level, nourish divine skills, they can also be utilized to cultivate external incarnations and refine Tao soldiers. In the handbook Lu Changsheng once read, there was a record of a top-tier sect that acquired a 9-aperture stone womb, from which they refined the nurturing spiritual embryo into one of the supreme Tao weapons. Extract. Without hesitation, Lu Changsheng chose to extract the spiritual embryo, to see if its effects were exactly as he knew. Chapter 1096, 100-Year Nascent Soul, Divine Communion. Chapter 1096, Chapter 386, 100-Year Nascent Soul, Divine Communion. A huge half of a withered tree appeared in front of Lu Changsheng. The trunk was charred all over, resembling a stump, without a crown or any branches. However, on the trunk, there were 9 dazzling and bright peaches, as if they were carved from jade, radiating with a vibrant life force. Peachwood Spirit Womb. Lu Changsheng looked at the Peachwood Spirit Womb in front of him. Through the system, he knew that the Peachwood Spirit Womb before him was indeed the same as the spiritual embryo of heaven and earth that he knew. It was originally a 10,000-year-old peach god tree. During the transformation tribulation, a spark of spiritual mechanism was born under the heavenly tribulation by chance, thus nurturing this spiritual embryo. Currently, the spiritual embryo still had no consciousness, being in the midst of growth. Only when it grew to 5th rank would it begin to slowly generate cognitive thoughts. This Peachwood Spirit Womb could not only be used as a top-tier great medicine to enhance one's cultivation level and nourish divine skills, but could also require vast efforts to cleanse the spirit womb, and with the soul dwelling within, refine it into an external incarnation or a Tao soldier. Such a spiritual embryo, if made to come into this world prematurely, would possess 3rd rank cultivation directly, comparable to core formation. With the continuous nourishing of heavenly and earthly treasures, it could rapidly grow, and at most within 100 years, reach the 4th rank nascent soul level. Unlike cultivators or demon beasts, this growth process has no bottlenecks and flows naturally like water finds its course. If I refine this spiritual embryo into an external incarnation, wouldn't I have a nascent soul doppelganger? In less than 100 years, could it grow into a nascent soul, true Lord's doppelganger? Lu Changsheng was somewhat astonished in his heart. In the Jiang country cultivation realm, nascent soul immortals already belong to the 1st tier, esteemed and revered, and this spiritual embryo was born with 3rd rank cultivation. With sufficient resources, it could grow without bottlenecks to 4th rank. Keep in mind that in the entire Jiang country cultivation realm, there was only Xianxia, true monarch of the heavenly sword sect, who was a nascent soul true lord. Moreover, this spirit embryo, before it comes into the world, can be influenced through the soul's dwelling and heartfelt cleansing, so that it can grow in the appearance one desires. For example, if I want a sword cultivator doppelganger, a sword cultivator Tao soldier, it could be perfectly aligned with the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture if I let the embryo cycle this cultivation technique in its embryonic state. At this moment, Lu Changsheng deeply understood why such heaven and earth spirit embryos were suitable for refining into external incarnations. However, he did not have the intention of refining an external incarnation. Firstly, he currently did not possess the cultivation technique for external incarnations. Secondly, the cultivation of external incarnations was extremely demanding. As far as Lu Changxing knew, at least the core formation stage was needed to practice external incarnations. Moreover, such a method required one to sever half of their own soul. For cultivators, the soul was of utmost importance. Not to mention severing half. Even ordinary damage required considerable time to heal. To sever half, one not only needed to spend countless heavenly and earthly treasures to nourish and repair, but probably also needed decades of recuperation. Lu Changsheng could not afford to invest so much time and energy for a doppelganger. Moreover, he had read in ancient books that such external incarnations had several hidden risks. For instance, if the doppelganger left the main body for too long, it could potentially develop its own consciousness, or its cognitive thoughts might differ from those of the main body. Even more, if the doppelganger became stronger than the main body, it might even backfire, although the likelihood of this was very small. But just this risk alone was enough for Lu Changsheng to disregard the method of external incarnation. However, this spirit embryo is quite suitable to be the body for Hong Lian. Lu Changsheng mused silently. Although the spirit embryo could also be refined into a Dao soldier, compared to refining a Dao soldier, he was more inclined to use it to rebuild Hong Lian's physical body. On one hand, he had made a promise to Hong Lian in his early years. On the other hand, given Hong Lian's current soul state, finding a suitable body to merge and accommodate her soul was extremely difficult. Initially, Hong Lian herself set 3 rough conditions. A complete skeleton of a nascent soul true lord. Heaven and earth spirit objects that could be used to refine external incarnations. Certain physical bodies crafted from heavenly and earthly treasures. Any of these conditions were very stringent. Even if he made a breakthrough to core formation, he might not be able to obtain them. Yet the Peachwood spirit womb directly met the above 3 conditions. Not only could it perfectly integrate and accommodate her soul, but could also allow her to tailor-make her own body, and it would enable her to quickly return to peak performance, recovering to the nascent soul true Lord cultivation level. Just that if I do this, there's one problem. Lu Changsheng's eyes slightly narrowed. Although Hong Lian had been tirelessly performing duties for the Lu family these past decades, refining pills, artifacts, formations, even teaching and advising the children, she was obedient to him like a maid. But deep down, Lu Changsheng still had not completely trusted Hong Lian. After all, she was a nascent soul true lord. Understandably, she would be more courteous because she was relying on someone else. But for a nascent soul true lord to be so excessively amiable towards him felt exaggerated, didn't it? With Hong Lian's insights and methods as a nascent soul true lord, if she were to obtain the Peachwood spirit womb, escaping from his control would be incredibly easy. Therefore, Lu Changsheng harbored some worries. I'll wait until I've achieved core formation, then explore her intentions later. After pondering for a moment, Lu Changsheng entrusted the Peachwood spirit womb before him to the care of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, deciding to consider giving the spirit embryo to Hong Lian only after he had achieved core formation. By the way, if the spirit womb naturally nurtures life, what would be the nature of the child it bears? Human, or a peach demon? Lu Changsheng thought suddenly, hitting upon a question. With regards to Hong Lian, to say he had not the slightest interest would be impossible. After all, to truly become one of his own people, isn't it all about going from being intimate to having her as the mother of the child? Moreover, this process of coexistence is a perfect way to cultivate affection. Never mind, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Chapter 1097, 100-Year Nascent Soul Divine Communion. Chapter 1097. Chapter 386. 100-Year Nascent Soul. Divine Communion. Lu Changsheng shook his head, not dwelling on it too much, and went to Changsheng Hall to use the cultivation and magical power he had gained for condensing the elemental elixir. According to the theory he knew, it was extremely difficult for humans and the demon race to have offspring, let alone conceiving a spiritual embryo that counts as half a true spirit. However, if it really came to life, it couldn't be bad. You country, Jinyang sect. Return to Jiang country. Upon hearing Lu Qingshan's words, Tianyuan True Immortal observed the siblings before him and pondered, saying, "Currently, Azure Phoenix Immortal City is unstable due to matters concerning the Azure Phoenix Immortal. If you go back now, you must be careful. If it's not urgent, you could wait a few years to return, or wait until I have time to take you back." Tianyuan True Immortal said so. Azure Phoenix Immortal City was located on the border between Jiang Country and Yu Country. Now the affairs of the Azure Phoenix Immortal were causing a great stir, attracting attention not only from many forces in Jiang Country, but also from numerous forces within Yu Country. Once it is confirmed that the Azure Phoenix Immortal has left, several major forces will divide Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Lu Qingshan, hearing this, became somewhat interested and asked, "Master, is it true as the rumors say that the Azure Phoenix Immortal left Azure Phoenix Immortal City to seek a nascent soul opportunity outside?" Most likely, the Azure Phoenix Immortal is almost 400 years old. At this age, even with heavenly and earthly treasures or secret techniques to maintain her state, delaying further will affect the probability of forming a nascent soul. Tianyuan True Immortal, dressed in a luxurious bright red robe, looked languid, sipped from a flask in her hand, and spoke. These forces were almost certain that the Azure Phoenix Immortal had already left Azure Phoenix Immortal City. They were now observing to confirm whether the Azure Phoenix Immortal genuinely departed or only pretended to leave, actually fishing. After all, the rumors of the severe injury of the Azure Phoenix Immortal in her early years had trapped many people and forces. 400 years old, Lu Qingshan was somewhat surprised, not expecting the Azure Phoenix Immortal to be so aged. However, recalling that the other was once known as Jiang Country's #1 independent cultivator and had been famous for several hundred years, it seemed reasonable. He continued to inquire, "Master, what are the chances of success for the Azure Phoenix Immortal's breakthrough to the nascent soul?" 30%. Tianyuan True Immortal took another sip of her drink. Only a 30% chance for the nascent soul. For Jiang Country's #1 independent cultivator? Lu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Although a 30% chance was already high for many nascent soul immortals. In his view, compared to the legendary life of the Azure Phoenix Immortal, this probability seemed somewhat low. 30% is already very high. It's rumored that the Azure Phoenix Immortal's talent wasn't considered high initially. It was only because of fortuitous encounters and acquiring a kind of acquired spirit body along with the Qingluan Dao Bing that she gradually rose to such a level. These hundreds of years, although Azure Phoenix Immortal had ingested a massive amount of spirit stones and heavenly and earthly treasures through the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, cultivating her Dao Soldier, the spiritual beast Azure Wan, wanting to obtain an infant transformation elixir to help break through to nascent soul was nearly impossible. Without the infant transformation elixir, relying only on an acquired spirit body or a few nascent soul spiritual objects, a 30% chance is already the highest. Furthermore, the Azure Phoenix Immortal is proud and unwilling to join other forces, making it a challenge to get a 4th order spirit vein for striking at the nascent soul, only able to head for a 4th order immortal city. Tianyuan True Immortal shook her head and said somewhat emotionally. While speaking of the Azure Phoenix Immortal, she was also reflecting on the difficulty and uncertainty of her own breakthrough to the nascent soul. Infant transformation elixir. Lu Qingshan nodded, knowing that just like the Foundation Establishment Elixir during the Qi Refinement Realm and the Coagulation Crystal Elixir during the Foundation Establishment stage, there was an elixir medicine called Infant Transformation Elixir during the Core Formation's breakthrough to Nascent Soul. It could help nascent soul cultivators more smoothly shatter the core to transform to infant. But for independent cultivators, obtaining such an elixir was practically impossible. Still, Lu Qingshan guessed that perhaps even a sect like Jinyang didn't have the means to obtain the infant transformation elixir. What do you plan to do? Tianyuan True Immortal looked at Lu Qingshan and inquired. Master, I still plan to return now. Little Zhu and I will take the spiritual vessel all the way. Hence there shouldn't be any danger. Lu Qingshan looked at his sister beside him and said directly. He knew that his sister had always been looking forward to returning home after her Foundation establishment. Now that she has achieved it, if they waited a few more years, she would say nothing, but would surely feel disheartened inside. And his physical body, under this wonderful dual cultivation technique, gradually imbued with more of the essence of utmost kindness like water, infinite and nurturing, soothing his organs, meridians, and dantian. Hum, hum, hum. Their mana flowed like a brilliant long river between them, endlessly cycling, making Lu Maya's exquisite jade body emanate mysterious yin and yang energies. With the help of the yin-yang creation scripture and sun-moon samsara technique, their compatibility with the Tai-E life water technique now might even surpass that of the ancestors who created the technique. This made Lu Maya's technique not only not inferior to the profound mystery rank, but also made her cultivation speed comparable to that of someone with a top-grade spiritual root. Once Lu Changxing breaks through core formation and his Tai Dao seed advances further, she could reap many benefits, and her future core formation seemed promising. After a long time, the two completed their dual cultivation, filled with a spirit desire in their hearts, feeling an inseparable connection. Afterwards, Lu Changsheng clearly realized that this belonged to the side effects of the soul dual cultivation of the sun-moon samsara technique. The two would indulge in the spirit desire, or rather, it was as if experiencing this profound spiritual communion for the first time, they were somewhat enchanted. This made Lu Changsheng realize the effects of this soul dual cultivation. During this process, it was easy for the two to develop feelings and increase their fondness for one another. And in the meeting of their minds, the two truly shared openly, understanding each other's thoughts and ideas. Can I use this profound communion to cultivate a relationship with Hong Lian and understand her nature, thoughts, and ideas? Lu Changxing pondered. Now that the sun-moon samsara technique had reached a minor achievement, he also gained a secret technique. He could actively merge his soul with others, using his own soul to nurture and repair someone else's soul. Although this process could cause a slight harm to himself, leading to spiritual listlessness, it could enhance the relationship during the communion and provide insight into each other's thoughts and ideas. Hong Lian has worked hard all these years without much acknowledgement, and she's also the master of my son. As a father, I should properly thank her. Lu Changsheng stroked his chin, thinking that a little harm wasn't a big issue. But this matter, too, had to wait until after core formation. After all, his soul and Hong Lian's were too different at the moment. If the convergence process proved ineffective, it would be embarrassing. Chapter 1098. The Last Cultivation, Striking Down the Ancestor of Jin Family. Chapter 1098. Chapter 387. The Last Cultivation, Striking Down the Ancestor of Jin Family. In the cold and quiet underground cave. A year later, Yin Wansheng sent a message again, asking Lu Changsheng to help with cultivation. This was their last cultivation session together, but the process was the same as before. As soon as Lu Changsheng arrived, he entered a familiar state where he could not see or move. Following that, a fragrant and sweet elixir medicine emitting a charming aroma was fed into his mouth. Once his blood boiled, a soft and graceful jade body straddled him. Lu Changsheng honestly operated the sun-moon samsara technique. However, as the cultivation technique operated, a bright sun emerged at his forehead during the intermingling process of yin and yang with Yun Wanshang, and the physical restraint began to gradually dissipate. Lu Changsheng was slightly startled and somewhat surprised. What's happening? Why is the restraint on his body being released? Could it be that this true immortal is indicating that he should take the initiative? But he immediately realized that this was the effect of the sun-moon samsara technique. Because his small achievement in the sun-moon samsara technique made the dual cultivation effect more harmonious. Thus, during this process, the opponent's primordial yin mana merging with him helped to partially dissolve the restrictive force on his body. The sun-moon samsara technique also has this effect. Lu Changsheng was a bit surprised. However, having been unable to move for so long, he felt somewhat uneasy now that he suddenly could, unsure of what to do. After a moment, his mental spirit stirred tentatively, and he reached out to embrace the stunningly beautiful jade bodice waist. Instantly, Lu Changsheng felt the body of Kaiyun True Immortal tense up and stiffen for a moment. However, she did not say anything and continued to ride, letting him take his actions. Seeing that she seemed not to resist, Lu Changsheng gradually became bolder. Several days later, in another dark room in the cave, a spiritual pool formed by the eyes of a spiritual spring, the spiritual energy and mist steaming and pervading, making the bleak and cold room seem touched by the aura of immortals. Yun Wanshang, with her black hair cascading like a waterfall, unparalleled in beauty, her celestial-like jade body soaked in the spiritual spring, only exposing her snowy white shoulders above the water. She quietly watched the golden core in her chi ocean core, radiating a brilliant luster. On the surface of the golden core, there were mysterious and extraordinary glazed golden cloud patterns. A black and white yin-yang fish slowly swam around the golden core, as if meticulously carving this core. After these days of dual cultivation are over, I can aim for the immortal golden core after this closed-door cultivation. Yin Wanshang silently thought to herself. A first gray golden core, also called an immortal golden core. In any power, it is considered to be a nascent soul seed. It is rumored that even those with a lower grade spiritual root, as long as they obtain an immortal golden core, have a fair chance of breaking through to the nascent soul stage. Because the Tao Foundation, golden core, and nascent soul are all symbols of a cultivator's potential and foundation. Through a person's Tao Foundation, golden core, and nascent soul, one can know their strength, foundation, and future potential. And an immortal golden core is the highest achievement in the core formation stage. However, thinking about how Lu Changsheng's sun-moon samsara technique has achieved a small accomplishment, and he has become increasingly bold these days. Never mind. Yin Wanshang shook her head, not too concerned. He has been under her restraint, unable to move for so long. Now finally, this last time, she can let him indulge a bit. After all, no matter what he does, he cannot resist her. Lu Changsheng, don't overstep your bounds. Lu Changsheng, you're being too presumptuous. Since this was their last time, the two underwent dual cultivation for half a year. During this process, Lu Changsheng continuously tested his master's limits. Although he wasn't able to reverse their roles, at least it wasn't as boring and passive as before. There was some slight interaction. Through this thorough interaction, Lu Changsheng gained a deeper understanding of this Kaiyun True Immortal. Her image overlapped continuously with the image in the Soul Path dreams. Will this continue? Perhaps I'll even hear, Lu Changsheng, aren't you quite proud? Lu Changsheng inwardly speculated. But with the end of cultivation with this Kaiyun True Immortal, he could now confidently pick the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, solve his family's spirit vein, and prepare for core formation with peace of mind. At that moment, Lu Changsheng saw the neatly dressed Kaiyun True Immortal approaching. She wore a colorful and luxurious palace dress, her hair neatly styled up, her beauty as if a celestial maiden had descended, her elegance and grace unparalleled. However, at this moment, her noble and sacred, cool and celestial face faintly displayed a touch of indescribable, enchanting allure. Senior. Lu Changsheng bowed with his hands clasped. Although the two of them had already become very close, he still maintained a certain distance and the respect that was due. Primarily because Kaiyun True Immortal's personality was quite serious, not one for jokes. In matters of cultivation, I owe you a favor. If you encounter any trouble, feel free to send me a message. If you need help with your core formation one day, you can also find me. Yin Wanshang stated coldly and calmly. Even though the yin-yang energies from Lu Changsheng originated from her own spirit-nurturing energy, and the dual cultivation process was beneficial for both, she did not take it for granted or feel she owed nothing. Thank you, Senior. Lu Changsheng bowed with his hands clasped. Having been ridden by her for so long, the reason he didn't inherently despise or detest her was because her attitude was fairly decent, far from being haughty or overbearing. Yin Wanshang gave Lu Changsheng a deep glance, didn't say much, and left as a divine rainbow. Through the long period of dual cultivation, she had already realized that Lu Changsheng was concealing his cultivation level through some means. It couldn't just be Foundation Establishment's 6th layer. Most likely, he had already broken through to the Foundation Establishment late stage. However, regarding this, she did not inquire further. In the cultivation world, those who rise up, aside from the few top-tier geniuses, which one didn't have some fortunate secret. Chapter 1099. The Final Cultivation. Smashing the Ancestor of Gene Family. Chapter 1099. Chapter 387. The Final Cultivation. Smashing the Ancestor of Gene Family. Like Lu Changsheng, a cultivator from a modest family, to reach such a realm within mere decades, his chances and secrets are anything but ordinary. So, if he is in need, she wouldn't mind supporting his growth, offering a little help along his cultivation journey, and considering it as forming a good connection. Moreover, should she one day face the challenge of reaching the nascent soul stage, she may need to rely on Lu Changsheng's cultivation. When Lu Changsheng saw Yin Wanshang leave, he took a deep breath and slowly exhaled, turning himself into a beam of escape light as he headed back to Bai Lake Mountain. Kaiyun True Immortal had just returned to Kaiyun Peak when she saw her disciple, Xianxia, coming back. Without needing to think, she knew Xianxia probably went to Bai Lake Mountain. Thinking that for the past half-year Lu Changsheng had been with her, Yin Wanshang felt a hint of unwarranted guilt in her heart. Alas, fate plays with people. Yin Wanshang watched Xianxia, whose figure was as lonely as the 9 heavens' bright moon, and let out a small sigh. There was a time when this disciple of hers was lively and radiant. But for the sake of the great Tao, she practiced the supreme, forgetful love technique and became like this. To transform for the sake of the great Tao is one thing, but to now also be trapped in the tribulation of love, with her Tao heart compromised and the path ahead uncertain. Master! Xianxia noticed her master standing at the peak, looking at her, and approached with a respectful bow. The master, of course, approved of her cultivation with Lu Changsheng. But in her heart, Xianxia understood that her master hoped that through the sun-moon samsara technique, she could see through the mortal world and comprehend her Tao heart. Moreover, the fact that she had gone to Bai Lake Mountain showed she hadn't moved on. She knew, to attain the state of supreme, one must perceive the heavenly heart without bias or attachment, beyond joy and anger. Your teacher still hopes you can find your way out, Yin Wanshang said gently, looking at her disciple. Xiaoxia's resolve on seeking the Tao was very firm. Otherwise, she would not have been accepted as a disciple in the first place. Master, I understand, Xianxia said, fully aware of the meaning behind her master's words. She lightly pursed her lips, suddenly raising her head, her eyes as clear and bright as the moon above, speaking softly. Master, the ways of heaven are unpredictable, callous yet emotional. Can both be possible paths for the Tao? Yin Wanshang paused at these words, looking at the disciple in front of her and sighed. The ways of heaven are unpredictable, affectionate yet indifferent. Who can truly know? The supreme forgetful love technique you cultivate is impartial as the ways of heaven, doomed not to follow this path. Reflect on what you need during your daily cultivations. And what is the Tao in your heart? Yin Wanshang advised softly. After speaking, she disappeared, returning to her own palace. Regardless, she still hoped her disciple could break through her Tao heart. Supreme forgetfulness is not heartlessness, but the impartiality of heavenly ways. But if the heavenly ways are impartial, why do some people seem to be favored by heaven, with a smooth cultivation path laden with fortunate encounters, while others seem destined to die young or are forced to become outlaws, or even befallen by disasters from above? Xianxia murmured to herself in contemplation. The discussion she once had with Lu Changsheng about the philosophy of yin and yang, emotions and indifference, had greatly influenced her. She knew that overcoming the tribulation of emotions was almost impossible. Thus, she wanted to follow Lu Changsheng's suggestion, to find her own path based on the foundation of the supreme forgetful love technique. By Lake Mountain, Lu family mansion. Xiaoa, how many spirit stones have you saved up? Lu Wangshu saw her younger sister, Lu Lingyi, seriously counting the spirit stones and asked, I forgot, I haven't finished counting yet. Lu Lingyi, in a red jacket with her hair tied into cute buns, looked up perplexed and said, Lu Wangshu's eyes curved into a smile as she cheerfully took out 10 spirit stones from her storage bag and handed them to Lu Lingyi, saying, Xiaoa, sister has a few more spirit stones here. I'll give them to you. Lu Lingyi blinked in astonishment. Her sister often tricked her for spirit stones, so why was she giving them to her today voluntarily? She tilted her head, her voice crisp as she asked, Sister, don't you need the spirit stones? Isn't it only right for a sister to give her little sister some spending money? Lu Wangshu lovingly stroked her little sister's head with a look of affection. But if you give them to me, you won't have any left, sister. Lu Ling's innocent face revealed her simple-mindedness as she said so. Worried about your sister, huh? All right then, let's keep the sister's spirit stones with you, and we'll spend the money together. In a few days, sister will take you to the marketplace. Do you want to go? Lu Wangshu beamed brightly, hugging her sister affectionately as she spoke. Thank you, sister. Lu Lingyi happily agreed, then put the 10 spirit stones into her own sachet-style storage bag. From a distance, Lu Lingxiao saw Lu Wangshu talking to their sister and immediately approached. Seeing her sister fooled yet unaware, he said annoyed, Lu Wangshu, you're tricking Xiaohe out of spirit stones again. Lu Lingxiao, watch how you speak to your sister. I and Xiaohe have a close sisterly bond. You could learn a thing or two from her. Show some respect to your sister. Lu Wangshu folded her arms and scoffed at her brother. Sister, brother, don't fight. Lu Lingyi, seeing her brother and sister about to argue, hurriedly spoke up. If they started quarreling, her brother would end up being beaten by her sister again. What's going on here? At that moment, Lu Changsheng had just returned home and, hearing the commotion, came to inquire. It's nothing. Ling Xiao, Xiaohe, and I were just playing around, Lu Wangshu said, sounding somewhat sheepish. Oomph. Lu Lingxiao gave Lu Wangshu a cold snort and said, Dad, it's nothing. He was often bullied by Lu Wangshu, but he never snitched. He vowed to one day surpass Lu Wangshu with his own strength. Chapter 1100. The Last Cultivation, Assaulting the Ancestor of Jin Family. Chapter 1100. Chapter 387. the last cultivation, assaulting the ancestor of Jin family. Come, Xiaoa, tell Daddy what happened. Lu Chongqing naturally knew that his daughter, Lu Wangshu, and Lu Lingxiao didn't see eye to eye. Or rather, Lu Wangshu liked to tease her siblings on normal days. Xiaohe relayed the situation, and after listening, Lu Chongqing was left somewhat speechless as he looked at his daughter. He thought to himself that the other party was truly bored enough to find different ways to trick Xiaohe out of her pocket money every day. However, despite Lu Wangshu's tactics, his daughter Lu Lingyi never seemed to learn her lesson and continued to trust Lu Wangshu deeply, which baffled Lu Chongqing. All right, Wangshu, you're already such a grown-up. Try to tease Xiaohe and Ling Xiao less in your daily life. Lu Chongqing said to his daughter Lu Wangshu. As a second-grade talisman master, this daughter of his wouldn't lack money on normal days, let alone needing the few spirit stones from Lu Lingyi. This was purely out of boredom, seeking amusement through her younger brother and sister. However, up by Lake Mountain, Lu Wangshu often played and messed around with Lu Ling Xiao and Lu Lingyi. Now, there were also Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian. Got it. Lu Wangshu pouted as she spoke. Subsequently, Lu Chongqing inquired about the cultivation progress of the three children. Lu Wangshu had long reached the 9th-level energy refinement peak and was capable of breaking through to foundation establishment. However, Lu Chongqing still advised her to continue accumulating, because with the 99 mystical talisman scripture cultivation technique, when breaking through foundation establishment, one could condense the comprehended spiritual patterns and runes into their Tao foundation. Not only could this enhance the Tao foundation's depth, but could also condense a life-bound divine talisman and perform techniques like void drawing of talismans, whose power would far exceed that of an average person. For instance, the same talisman or talisman formation in the hands of an ordinary person would have normal power. But in the hands of Lu Wangshu, the effect and power would be 30 to 40% higher, or even doubled. Such an increase was tremendously exaggerated. By then, Lu Wangshu's talisman formation would be a real trump card. Her son, Lu Lingxiao, had the cultivation of 6th-level energy refinement, but could break through to 7th-level energy refinement at any time. According to Hong Lian, it wasn't necessary for Lu Lingxiao to advance his realm so quickly. Gradual breakthroughs over time, slowly grinding, could provide more accumulations and be more solid. Moreover, progressing too quickly in the early stages of cultivation without sufficient mental tempering could lead to mental imbalance when encountering any bottleneck in the later stages. Many geniuses experienced smooth sailing in the early stages of their cultivation, as effortless as eating and drinking, which led to a complete downturn when they encountered a bottleneck later on. As for his daughter Lu Lingyi, she was much behind, only at 4th-level energy refinement. On one hand, Lu Lingyi started her cultivation late. Additionally, this daughter was somewhat playful and interested in everything, resulting in her learning slowly. After attending to the matters of his children, Lu Chongqing asked his wife Lu Miaoyan whether there were any significant events in the past 6 months at home. A moment later, he heard news that some time ago, the ancestor of the Jin family led people to Huji Ridge. Huji Ridge. Lu Chongqing was aware of this family force. It belonged to an old, prominent family, although they did not have a false core immortal presiding. But overtly, the family had 5 foundation establishment cultivators, with the elder ancestor being a foundation establishment late-stage great cultivator. Upon brief inquiry, Lu Chongqing learned that the Jin family's visit wasn't to take down Huji Ridge. It was due to conflicts between the two families, and they went to demand an explanation. However, Lu Chongqing speculated that, aside from wanting to ask for an explanation, the ancestor of the Jin family's visit was likely also to establish dominance. Previously, Jin Zan clashed with me not just to probe, but also to use the opportunity to assert their power. The outcome wasn't only unsuccessful, but also led to a significant loss in the family's face, so naturally, they want to regain face by other means. This old and established foundation establishment family, Huji Ridge, has always been at odds with the Jin family, and not far apart. So it makes sense for the Jin family to assert dominance over them now. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he pondered in his heart. In the cultivation world, family forces were very particular about their reputation. Just like in the past, when the second-generation elder of the Su family was killed and the elder ancestor of the Su family could not find the murderer, he went directly to the Five Elements royal family to assert power and deter other forces. Because when such incidents happened, if there was no response, the outside world would think your family power had declined, becoming weak and vulnerable. Going forward, the family's businesses, marketplace transactions, vassal families, even visiting noble servants, and others would all be impacted. This is an opportunity Lu Changsheng's mind stirred. He had always wanted to ambush the ancestor of the Jin family, or Jin Zan, to prevent the Jin family from causing trouble during his breakthrough to core formation. Now that the ancestor of the Jin family had left their clan and was at Huji Ridge, it was a good opportunity for him to take action. As long as he killed the ancestor of the Jin family, Golden Dragon Ridge would return to the previous deadlock, allowing for stable development. This was precisely the situation Lu Changsheng needed. Moreover, once the matters regarding the Jin family were settled, he could leave without worry to head to the Myriad Beast mountain range to sever the spiritual vein origin, thus charging towards core formation. Without delay, Lu Changsheng left by Lake Mountain for Huji Ridge in disguise. Huji Ridge. The original name of this mountain ridge was no longer known to people. As the Hu family took up residence, gradually it became known as Huji Ridge. At this moment, boom, 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 the Hu family's great formation was in operation, and the entire family spirit land was enveloped in a red glow, as if a giant red python was coiling around. The ancestor of the Jin family, along with 2 foundation establishment cultivators and more than 20 energy refinement late-stage cultivators, formed a formation and launched attacks on Huji Ridge. Techniques bombarded the great formation protecting Huji Ridge, making a rumbling noise that threw the surrounding nature's spiritual energy into chaos. Facing such an offensive, Huji Ridge was merely defending without anyone coming forward. If anyone had cultivated the pupil skill and observed carefully, they could see through the obscure mist of Huji Ridge's family great formation and notice atop a mountain peak, nature's spiritual energy was converging, forming a small-scale spiritual energy vortex, indicating that someone within Huji Ridge was at the final stage of breaking through to foundation establishment right then. Chapter 1101, NAL Cultivation, Annihilating the Ancestor of Jin Family. _4 Chapter 1101, 387, The Final Cultivation, Annihilating the Ancestor of Jin Family. _4 Damn it, the Jin family is truly overbearing. Not long ago, when Lu Changsheng's son made a breakthrough to foundation establishment, the Jin family didn't lay a hand on him. Now, when our Hu family's youngster breaks through to foundation establishment, they resort to such measures. A foundation establishment cultivator from the Hu family looked at the cultivators from the Jin family outside with a face full of frustration and said, "The Huji Ridge of the Hu family as a heritage that has been passed down for hundreds of years. Even when they faced the Jin family in the past, though they were not a match, they were never fearful. But now to be bullied by the Jin family to this extent is extraordinarily frustrating. Especially the way the Jin family has acted. It seems as if they think our Hu family is easy to bully, even more so than the newly rising Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. That old ghost from the Jin family is so brazen to come to our Huji Ridge. Isn't he afraid that someone will disturb his Golden Dragon Ridge? Prepare the Great Formation. Once Fei Guang completes the breakthrough, we'll give the old ghost from the Jin family a lesson." 2 foundation establishment cultivators from the Hu family said indignantly, preparing to make the Jin family patriarch pay the price after the family's breakthrough is complete, to show that the Hu family is not so easily bullied. Just then, they suddenly looked up and saw two figures, a man and a woman, appear. The man appeared to be in his 30s or 40s, tall and sturdy, towering above the average person by 2 to 3 heads, with a leopard's head and ringed eyes, his face covered in twisted whiskers, resembling an iron tower, exuding an oppressive aura full of strength. The girl looked to be 17 or 18, with a delicate and pure face, pretty as a picture and pitiable, but there was a seductive charm about her. This young girl, with her face downcast, obediently stood beside the large man, making their stature and appearance a stark contrast. Who is this person? An accomplice of the Jin family? No, this girl is the renegade from the Huanyin sect, the wanted heretic cultivator Hua Zi. What, a heretic cultivator? Some from the Hu family recognized the delicate young girl among the man and the woman. What are you looking at, old fogey? At this moment, the burly man noticed the ancestor of the Jin family and others looking at them and coldly shouted. In his words, an aura similar to that of a third-rank demon beast spread from his body, accompanied by rolling black, demonic evil chi. Demon cultivator? Both the Jin family and Hu family cultivators were shocked at this sight. Taoist. The ancestor of the Jin family was greatly alarmed and hurriedly shouted, bringing out his magical treasures. However, in that instant, a nascent soul divine sense shot towards him, like a silver needle piercing towards his sea of consciousness. But in his sea of consciousness, there was a small purple bell gently swaying and guarding it. Yet in this lightning-fast moment, a seductive fragrance also entered his nostrils, dulling his mind and causing the scene before his eyes to change. Ding-ling-ding. Suddenly, the small purple bell in the ancestor of the Jin family's sea of consciousness began to sway loudly, alerting his mental spirit and making him aware that this was a charm illusion technique. However, the gap in their divine senses was too vast. Even with this exotic treasure for divine sense, he still felt groggy and barely managed to struggle free. But before he could struggle out of the charm illusion technique, a figure resembling a black iron tower with rolling black evil chi and exuding a terrifying powerful aura, like a demon beast, appeared in front of him. Boom! A punch was thrown, overwhelmingly powerful, directly blasting the body of the ancestor of the Jin family into blood and gore. Silence. A deathly silence. Everyone stared, aghast at the sight of the ancestor of the Jin family, who was now blown to pieces, shrouded in a mist of blood. No one could have anticipated that two cultivators would suddenly appear, then, with a single punch, kill the ancestor of the Jin family. Keep in mind, this was a false core patriarch, a high and mighty true pill master. But now, he has been killed by a single punch. This. Ancestor. Why did you kill our family patriarch? Some of the Jin family cultivators were pale with terror, quivering, afraid to speak out loud. But others, in grief, shouted at the burly man with trembling voices. His gaze made me uncomfortable. The burly man's voice was rough and domineering as he sneered. He, daring to look at this girl more, isn't it seeking death? The delicate girl beside him giggled, her voice coquettishly seductive. While speaking, she collected the storage ring, magical treasures, and core of the Jin family patriarch. If you want to live, hand over your storage bags. The young girl said to the Jin family members in front of her, her voice sweet, soul-stirring. But this enchanting and tempting voice made all the Jin family cultivators tremble, daring not to say more and could only obediently hand over their storage bags. By saving you all, it's not too much to ask for remuneration, right? At this time, the burly man suddenly turned his head to look at the cultivators in Huji Ridge, sneering. Senior, please wait a moment. We will prepare it right away. A foundation establishment cultivator from a Hu family heard this and went weak at the knees, shakily saying. Then he immediately hurried to the family treasure vault to fetch the spirit stones and various heavenly and earthly treasures. Although their family great formation could protect them and hold off against a nascent soul cultivator for quite some time, the sheer terrifying might of the burly man's punch that killed the Gene family patriarch was too shocking, too frightening, and they dared not gamble. Moreover, through the actions of the burly man, he guessed the identity of the person. The nascent soul-body cultivator who was with the Huan Yin sect renegade, Hua Zi. Moments later, a Foundation establishment returned, passing several storage bags through the family great formation. "Senior, these are all the resources from our family treasury already," he said with a fawning face, his voice somewhat trembling. After receiving the storage bags, the burly man did not say another word, disappearing without a trace in a few breaths. Chapter 1102. Small Gains That Gene Family's Dumbfounded. Chapter 1102. Chapter 388. Small Gains That Gene Family's Dumbfounded. The burly man and the delicate young girl left Huji Ridge and entered the 9th Heavenly Gang Wind Layer directly. Hoo. The strong wind was fierce, and the howling ghost-like gang wind violently pressed and struck the two of them. Buzz! Beneath the burly man's feet, a star disk appeared, flowing with dazzling starlight, enveloping him and the young girl within. Subsequently, the man's bones crackled, and his face and stature changed instantly, transforming into a handsome and elegant young man with a tall and slender figure. This young man was naturally Lu Xianxia. The delicate young girl beside him was a disguise transformed by the Thousand Faces puppet fox. Initially, when Lu Xianxia planned to make a move on the Gene family, he had prepared a comprehensive plan, disguising as a heretic cultivator wanted by the Huan Yin sect and the Heavenly Sword sect. Thus, for the move on the ancestor of the Gene family, just as previously planned, he disguised himself as 2 heretic cultivators. Unfortunately, I haven't yet refined the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus into a void treasure. Otherwise, through the effect of coordinating all techniques with the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, transforming cultivation and magical power into the corresponding demonic cultivation techniques would have been more realistic. However, having the 3rd-rank demonic evil talisman will do for now. It's just a few Foundation establishment cultivators. They likely won't detect any flaws. Lu Xianxia let his mana flow, dispersing the remaining demonic evil qi around his body. After checking to make sure there were no problems, he cleaned up his gains in the 9th Heavenly Gang Wind Layer, clearing any suspicious items from the storage ring of the ancestor of the Gene family. At the same time, he checked the reward provided by the Hu family to ensure there were no tricks involved. Huji Ridge, outside the mountain gate. The monk of the Gene family watched Lu Xianxia and the Thousand Faces puppet fox leave before they dared to move. If not for the blood-muddied corpse of their own ancestor right before their eyes, they'd think it was just an illusion. Go, retreat quickly. A Foundation establishment cultivator of the Gene family immediately transmitted his voice, instructing everyone to quickly flee from Huji Ridge. With the ancestor dead, they were utterly no match for the cultivators of the Hu family. Moreover, with such occurrences, they fear encountering any further mishaps. Want to leave? It's not that simple. Do you think you can come and go from Hu family as you please? A Foundation establishment cultivator of the Hu family saw this and immediately shouted loudly. Now that the Gene family ancestor was dead, they naturally had no fear of the Gene family cultivators outside. Even if they could not keep the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators of the Gene family, they could still kill many of the Gene family's late-stage energy refining cultivators. For any family, those in the late stage of energy refinement form a core force. Hurry up, well, cover the rear. The 2 Foundation establishment cultivators of the Gene family exchanged glances, ordering the other energy refining cultivators to flee quickly. But earlier, they had all passed their storage bags to the Thousand Faces puppet fox. Without a spirit boat or flying artifact, they could only use the wind control skill to escape, which was slow. Meanwhile, Golden Dragon Ridge, Gene Family Ancestral Hall. Bang! The old guardian of the ancestral hall heard a crisp sound inside the hall, and suddenly got a shock. Apart from a few from the direct lineage core, only Foundation establishment cultivators were qualified to possess a lifebound plaque. This sound was the sound of a lifebound plaque shattering, indicating a core member of the family had encountered an accident. He quickly walked into the hall. In the quiet hall, the lights were bright. The old man saw the shattered jade plaque at the top of the high platform, and as if struck by lightning, his voice trembling loudly said, "This is impossible." This jade plaque was the lifebound plaque of their ancestor of the Gene family. Their ancestor of the Gene family was a true pill master, a highly respected figure. How could he suddenly perish? No, this is impossible, absolutely impossible. With a crazed expression, the old man stared in disbelief at the lifebound plaque in front of him, and then stepped forward to hold the jade plaque. The warm jade plaque was now cold and shattered, just like his heart. He knew his own ancestor truly had fallen. The ancestor only went to Huji Ridge. How could an accident happen? With cloudy, tear-filled eyes, the old man muttered. He didn't think much, and hurriedly notified the patriarch and the great elder. Now that the ancestor had fallen, showing that something had happened at Huji Ridge, the family must urgently discuss countermeasures. Great elder, it's bad. Gene Zon saw the patriarch of the Gene family arriving with an anxious expression. His face darkened, and he spoke. During major events, one needs to stay calm. What happened? Great elder, the ancestor, he has fallen. The patriarch of the Gene family said with profound sorrow and panic. What? Gene Zon, hearing this, was violently shocked. Then his eyes shot forth two chilling beams, looking at the patriarch of the Gene family incredulously, and said, "What did you say?" Great elder, the ancestor has fallen. The patriarch of the Gene family, with red eyes, said. He, too, was in disbelief when hearing this news, and rushed to the ancestral hall to verify. After confirming the shattering of their ancestor's soul plate, he dared to report to Gene Zon, who was in closed-door cultivation. After all, the great elder had just recovered from injuries and was focusing on cultivation. If he heard this news, it was feared that it would agitate his blood and affect his cultivation. How could this happen? How could the ancestor fall? What is going on? Gene Zon stared deathly at the patriarch of the Gene family, his eyes red, his presence intimidating as he spoke. The patriarch of the Gene family, under the pressure of Gene Zon's false core, felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe, and said with a bitter face, "We don't know either." Not long ago, when a young master of Hu family was making the Foundation establishment, the ancestor took Huji Ridge. Hu family is just a Foundation establishment family. Their ancestor was once defeated by me. How could he kill our ancestor? It's absolutely impossible for the ancestor to die at Huji Ridge. Gene Zon didn't let the patriarch of Gene family finish and directly spoke. Though the Hu family is an established Foundation establishment family with some secret techniques, they definitely do not have the means to kill a false core immortal. Chapter 11:03. A Small Gain, the Gene Family's Dumbfoundedness. Chapter 11:03. Chapter 388. A Small Gain, the Gene Family's Dumbfoundedness. Furthermore, our family patriarch had broken through to the false core stage 100 years ago, and his life-bound spiritual artifact had long since been promoted to a magic treasure. Having a magic treasure makes a true pill master with a false core far more powerful than those without one. Therefore, there is no way for the Hu family to have the ability to kill our family patriarch. I'll go to Huji Ridge now and see what's going on. Gene Zon did not continue to ponder. He immediately spoke up, preparing to investigate the truth. The great elder must not go. Now that an accident has befallen the patriarch, if there's any danger at Huji Ridge, the patriarch of the Gene family hurriedly said. His own patriarch had inexplicably perished abroad. Gene Zon, the false core patriarch, must absolutely not encounter any mishaps. If Jinzan were to have an accident as well, without a true pill master with a false core in command, their Jin family would thoroughly start to decline. Upon hearing this, Jinzan's heart suddenly trembled. He used to act overbearingly in the past, and a large reason was that he had the support of the ancestor of the Jin family. Now that the ancestor had fallen, and he himself had become the family patriarch, the sole mainstay, his actions could no longer be as reckless as before. Otherwise, if he encountered any accident, the entire Jin family would collapse like a house of cards. Fine, send someone immediately to investigate. After a long silence, Jinzan said heavily. A nameless panic rose in his heart. Ninth Heavenly Gang Wind Layer. Lu Changsheng stood firm atop the starlight plate, having sorted through the storage ring of the ancestor of the Jin family, the storage bag of the monk of the Jin family, as well as the rewards from the Hu family's cultivator. The haul this time cannot be said to be very substantial. Aside from his false core, life-bound magic treasure, only a small clock, an exotic treasure sensitive to divine sense, was valuable. The total value of the magic artifacts, spirit stones, and heavenly and earthly treasures inside the storage ring was not high, amounting to roughly 34,000 spirit stones. However, the combined total of the other Jin family monk storage bags was not bad, worth about 56,000 spirit stones. As for the Hu family's reward, Lu Changsheng roughly estimated it to be also around 56,000 spirit stones. No wonder so many cultivators, those at the foundation establishment and even core formation stages, would go on to become robber cultivators, heretic cultivators. The money really does come quickly, Lu Changsheng remarked out loud. This amount of spirit stones was not much. But from the time he left home to resolving the battle, it hadn't even been a day. This efficiency of money-making simply outdoes being a talisman master, alchemist, or a ray master. Sometimes it's better to be a heretic cultivator, acting without concerns, killing without the need for reason. Unlike me on a regular day, as the family patriarch, with hundreds of liabilities in the family, everything I do has to be considered carefully, looking before and after. Lu Changsheng shook his head, knowing that such activities could not see the light of day, and he should avoid them as much as possible. Otherwise, it's inevitable to have wet shoes if one often walks beside the river. After destroying and clearing all the suspicious items in the storage bag, Lu Changsheng did not continue to linger and quietly returned to Bai Lake Mountain. Throughout the trip, he was extremely cautious and was not worried about being traced back to him. But an idea surged in Lu Changsheng's heart. With such an incident having occurred, the Jin family and the Hu family will definitely report it to the Qingyun Sect's Enforcement Hall. And the master of the Enforcement Hall is Kaiyun True Immortal, who has a friendship with him akin to Guan and Bao. If the other party investigates, and it leads to him, would he cover up for him? After Lu Changsheng quietly returned to Bai Lake Mountain, he acted as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, at the same time, in Golden Dragon Ridge, the Jin family monks who went to Huji Ridge had also returned to the family. Had it not been for the Jin family's timely deployment of someone to check the situation, this time, the Jin family could have nearly been wiped out. Nonetheless, even so, 2 foundation establishment cultivators of the Jin family were seriously injured, and more than half of the 20 or so cultivators in the late stage of energy refinement died. This loss was nothing short of tragic. Considering the death of the ancestor of the Jin family, this trip could be said to have severely damaged the vitality of the Jin family. With no several decades, they would not be able to recover at all. You're saying the murderer is the wanted heretic cultivator, the Huan sect's traitor Hua Zi, and an unnamed body cultivator? With a gloomy face, Jinzan looked at the 2 foundation establishment cultivators in front of him and asked hoarsely. Yes, Great Elder. The 2 foundation establishment cultivators responded with a bitter expression and hoarse voices, recounting the events that took place. To be killed with just 1 punch? How is that possible? Upon hearing this, Jinzan's eyes bulged, his face filled with horror, disbelieving. He had already come to terms with the reality of his patriarch being killed. But now, to learn that his own patriarch was killed with a single punch, without any chance to fight back, he couldn't believe it. It must have been Huazi from Huan Yin's sect who used a charm illusion technique on the patriarch, disrupting and affecting his mental spirit, which allowed the body cultivator to take advantage of the gap to strike and kill the patriarch with a single punch. One Foundation establishment cultivator offered his explanation. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, he could barely discern some rationale. The fact that their patriarch did not use his magic treasure when facing the burly man's aggression indicated he was distracted. And the Huan Yin sect's cultivation techniques specialize in bewitching techniques and illusion techniques, which are hard to guard against. So he guessed that their patriarch might have been unsuspectingly caught off guard. Why would these two people target the patriarch? Our Jin family has never offended them, and we've never had any dealings with Huan Yin's sect. The patriarch of the Jin family said with clenched fists, his eyes red, his face full of stifled injustice. We don't know either. The two of them appeared suddenly. At the time, Ming asked them why they killed the patriarch, and that heretic cultivator said the patriarch's gaze made him uncomfortable. The two Foundation establishment cultivators said with a lifeless look, somewhat dazedly. Even after so much time passing, even after going through a life-and-death escape, recalling that situation, the images, it still felt like a dream, with a sense of unreal absurdity. The gaze displeased him. Jin Zan's face turned dark and ugly, veins throbbing on his forehead. His hands were clasped tightly together, and due to the force, his slightly sharp nails pierced deeply into the palm, causing bouts of piercing pain. Chapter 1104. A Small Gain. The Jin Family's Dumbfoundedness. Chapter 1104. Chapter 388. A Small Gain. The Jin Family's Dumbfoundedness. Displeased by a glance. Thus a punch took the life of the family patriarch. What a ridiculous and laughable reason. Yet, from the absurdity, he sensed a hint of reality, the cruelty of the cultivation world. Perhaps, to the other party, killing the family patriarch was as mundane as himself routinely killing a few energy-refining cultivators or Foundation establishment cultivators. Not reaching core formation, forever ants. Jin Zan's face betrayed a deep sense of fear and powerlessness. Indeed, becoming a false core immortal was like stepping into the threshold of the high ranks, becoming a notable figure. Yet, viewed through the lens of the entire cultivation world, in the eyes of a true nascent soul immortal, a false core was just an insignificant character, not even worthy of the title nascent soul immortal. The slightest carelessness could lead to being killed, with both body and Tao perishing. The death of the ancestor of the Jin family sent shivers down Jin Zan's spine, dousing the flames of his ambition to become a false core immortal. He began to fear the cultivation world more, no longer merely focused on his own territory. Good thing it wasn't my Jin family that provoked those two individuals. At this moment, Jin Zan actually felt a sense of relief. Relieved that it wasn't his family that had provoked these two heretic cultivators. Otherwise, attracting the attention of such heretic cultivators meant complete doom for his family. Great Elder, these two are wanted robber cultivators. Should we report to the Qingyun sect? At this time, Jin Zan, the patriarch of the Jin family, looked towards Jin Zan while speaking with a bitter tone. The Qingyun sect had regulations. Affiliated families who encountered demon cultivators, robber cultivators, or fugitives must report immediately. But these two heretic cultivators were too domineering. He couldn't help but fear. If he reported to the Qingyun sect, and the cultivators found out, would they trouble his own family? Jin Zan's heart trembled violently, and it took him a long time to finally speak. Report. They dared not offend these two heretic cultivators, nor dare they offend the Qingyun sect. If they didn't proactively report, and later the Qingyun sect laid blame, as the family patriarch, he couldn't escape responsibility. Furthermore, these two heretic cultivators have been wanted for decades. As long as it wasn't the Qinyan sect who actually found the pair and chased them, only to have them escape, it shouldn't bring trouble to his family. Several days later, news of the Jin family ancestor's death spread rapidly throughout the entire Qinyan region, like wildfire scorching the plains. Chapter 11:05 Thunder, Fire, Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Chapter 11:05 Chapter 389 Thunder, Fire, Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Lu Changsheng, about to head to the Myriad Beast mountain range, made arrangements for all the family affairs in advance. There was no need for him to worry about by Lake Mountain, where his son Lu Pingon held fort at White Tiger Mountain. But someone still needed to stay at Flower Fruit Mountain to look after it. After all, with so many fruit trees on Flower Fruit Mountain, it would be a great loss if robber cultivators, heretic cultivators, or any hostile forces were to destroy them all. He had already thought it through before and decided to station his son Lu Qingxian at Flower Fruit Mountain. Lu Changsheng found his son Lu Qingxian and asked, "Qingxian, is your realm stable now?" "Father, my cultivation level has been consolidated. I wanted to notify you earlier, but you were in closed-door cultivation," Lu Qingxian replied respectfully. "Good. This is a gift I prepared for you, known as the Divine Power Fruit. Upon consumption, you'll gain sudden enlightenment of a divine skill that suits you." Lu Changxing nodded and produced a fruit in his hand, resembling golden glass, covered in 7 colored Tao patterns. He had intended to give this divine power fruit to Lu Qingxian for quite some time. However, due to his dual cultivation matter with Yun Wanshang, he had not been home recently. Divine power fruit? Consuming it can lead to sudden enlightenment of a divine skill? Lu Qingxian exclaimed with a shock in his heart. Divine skills could only be cultivated by nascent soul immortals. Many false core immortals might not even be able to master a divine skill. Could his father actually be giving him such a precious spirit fruit as a gift? He felt somewhat overwhelmed at the moment. Go ahead and consume it. Let's see what divine skill you will come to understand," Lu Changsheng said with a smile. The divine skill gained from consuming the divine power fruit was related to the cultivation method, akin to an extension of the technique. Therefore, Lu Changsheng also didn't know what divine skill Lu Qingxian would perceive. It could be a lethal divine skill, a defensive divine skill, an escape technique, or an augmenting divine skill. "Thank you, Father." Lu Qingxian swallowed his saliva, bowed politely, and carefully took the golden fruit. He then sat cross-legged, seriously consuming the fruit in his hand. The fruit melted upon entering his mouth, turning into a light golden juice flowing into his belly. After a moment, Lu Qingxian's forehead gleamed with a golden luster, as if the essence of the great Tao circulated within, and the Thunder Fire 9 Arts cultivation method began to operate automatically. Hoo! Dark red flames emanated from his body, accompanied by strands of lightning arcs, raging violently, intensely fierce and powerful. At this instant, Lu Qingxian entered a mysterious state. The cultivation method operated over and over again, with lightning and fire rising and spreading all over his body. This Thunder Fire 9 Arts is quite good. It's a pity it's just a side door level skill. Otherwise, this Thunder and Fire synergistic technique would be more suitable for the Dragon Roar physique than the Vermilion Bird Sky Scorching Art. Lu Changxing mused as he looked at the technique. His son Lu Lingxiao practiced the Vermilion Bird Sky Scorching Art. But in his view, this domineering Thunder and Fire synergistic technique will be more suitable for Lu Lingxiao. Just like that, time passed bit by bit. 3 days later, Lu Qingxian abruptly opened his eyes, his pupils filled with thunder flames, radiating brilliant and blazing light. "Father!" Lu Qingxian, looking at his father before him, showed a face full of joy. Divine skill. He had actually comprehended a divine skill. Although it was only a pseudo-divine ability, it was still a divine skill. What divine skill have you realized? Lu Changsheng asked with a smile. Father, the divine skill I've comprehended is named Thunder, Fire, Mysterious Lotus. Lu Qingxian reported respectfully. Thunder, Fire, Mysterious Lotus? Show it to me. Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow and said with a smile, wanting to see the effect and power of this pseudo-divine ability. Yes. Lu Qingxian took a deep breath, stretched out his hands, and the mana from his Qi ocean core surged tumultuously. Boom! A clap of thunder sounded in the void, and on his left hand, a terrifyingly violent purple lightning arc surged. Above his right hand, a fiercely intense and burning red flame rose and spread. Under Lu Changsheng's gaze, Lu Qingxian slowly brought together the thunder and fire. Hum, hum, hum. As soon as the thunder and flame touched, they instantly burst with terrifying energy, causing the void to slightly distort as if on the verge of exploding. However, Lu Qingxian continuously formed seals with his hands, causing the two wild and domineering energies to distinctly separate yet closely intertwine, slowly merging, constantly creating and condensing into a palm-sized dark red lotus with roaming lightning arcs. Thunder, Fire, Mysterious Lotus. Lu Changsheng examined the fire lotus before him, stroked his chin, and felt it was somewhat similar to his own Thunder Gang Dragon Flame. He gently lifted his palm, and a clump of purple and red flame spread. Then he wrapped the dark red lotus in Lu Qingxian's hands. It does indeed have a similar essence to my Thunder Gang Dragon Flame. The power is decent too, almost comparable to the full blow of a Foundation Establishment 8-level cultivator. It's just that the casting time is a bit slow and too obvious. Lu Changsheng squinted his eyes, feeling the power of this pseudo-divine ability. Meanwhile, Lu Qingxian next to him was stunned. With a confused face, he looked at his father. What was going on? Shouldn't his divine skill have exploded out of control almost immediately? How could it be toyed with in his father's hand like a plaything? And what about his father's flames? Why did they look slightly similar to his own Thunder, Fire, Mysterious Lotus? Could it be that his father also consumed a divine power fruit? But shouldn't the divine skill realized from the divine power fruit be based on the practice cultivation method? Full of confusion, Lu Qingxian stood perplexed. Not bad. Comparable to the full blow of a Foundation Establishment 7th or 8th level cultivator. Enough to deal with some Foundation Establishment pushovers. How much mana did you just consume? Lu Changsheng looked at his son and asked. His son had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, and being able to wield such power with a divine skill was quite acceptable. Initially, he was somewhat apprehensive, worried about not being able to manage the family. But now, having mastered a divine skill, he was filled with confidence. Confident that if a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator attacked, he could, just like his elder brother Lu Pingan did in the past, repel a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator with his initial stage Foundation Establishment powers. After settling Lu Qingxian's matters and making sure there was nothing urgent at home, Lu Changsheng, along with Ling Zixiao, set off for the Myriad Beast mountain range. This time, he did not choose to travel by spiritual vessel. Instead, he directly controlled the Starlight Plate, holding Ling Zixiao's hand and soaring into the sky. From Bai Lake Mountain to Qingyan Market, one needs to wait for a spiritual vessel, then board the vessel to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, which wastes a lot of time going to and fro. The Myriad Beasts mountain range stretches across nearly half of the southern border of Jiang Country. As soon as they reached the Imperial Spirit's sex domain, they could enter the mountain range. So with the Starlight Plate, including rest times, it would take about a month to reach the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Is this the legendary Nine Heavens Gang Wind Layer? Above the Nine Heavens, Ling Zixiao's beautiful eyes were bright and clear, shining with starlight, observing a landscape she had never seen before, dreaming of reaching such a realm. Yes, this is the Nine Heavens Gangwind layer. With the help of this treasure, I can briefly travel through this layer of Gangwind. Lu Changsheng stood on the star plate, holding Ling Xixiu's hand, and said with a light smile, I heard that many sun and moon essences, starlight, and heaven and earth spiritual materials condensed from meteors outside of heaven gather here. Even cultivators' magical treasures are sometimes lost in the Nine Heavens Gangwind layer due to various reasons. Ling Zixiao, wearing a lake blue palace dress, her hair pinned up high, with a diagonal jade delicate hairpin, had a dignified and graceful appearance. This is just the lower part of the Nine Heavens Gangwind layer. If you want to find sun and moon essence, starlight, and other heaven and earth spiritual materials, you probably need to go to the top layer. Lu Changsheng said so, not really expecting to find treasure. After all, the odds of finding treasure are like winning the lottery, akin to encountering fortuitous adventures mentioned in the legends. However, just after he finished speaking, he suddenly saw a huge fragment being battered within the dark gang winds in the distance. What's this? Capture it. Lu Changsheng frowned slightly, his sleeve stirred, and a swirling yin-yang energies rolled out, forming a large cloudy hand. The hand grasped, capturing the huge fragment amidst the wind, bringing it back to the star plate. Looking at it, it appears to be a fragment of a magical treasure. Lu Changsheng examined the black, scar-covered fragment in his hand, recognizing it as likely a part of a cauldron-type magical treasure. However, considering how badly the cauldron was damaged, the owner of the treasure must have died. Beside him, Ling Zixiao was also startled. Then, with a somewhat peculiar expression, she looked at Lu Changsheng, pursed her red lips lightly, and said with a faint smile, Truly fitting for my lord to find treasures as soon as we leave home. It's purely coincidental, and besides, a fragment of a magical treasure is hardly a treasure. Lu Changsheng knew Ling Zixiao had misunderstood and replied with a smile. Picking up a treasure as soon as they left home was a good omen to him, and he was in a relatively good mood. However, the appearance of such a fragment made him suspect that there might be cultivators fighting in the Nine Heavens Gangwind ahead, making him more cautious. And so, a month later, the two arrived at the outskirts of the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Lu Changsheng found a place to restore his mana to its peak state before steering the spirit boat, carrying Ling Zixiao into the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Coming to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, he naturally did his homework. He knew that a cultivator's mana was like a torch in the night for the demon beasts. Chapter 11:07 Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus Crazy Harvest. Chapter 11:07 Chapter 389 Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus Crazy Harvest. Magic aura weakened, possibly attacked by demon beasts. Magic aura strengthened will be considered as provocation by demon beasts. And in Myriad Beasts mountain range, where demon beasts are everywhere, continuing to control the Starlight Plate not only consumes a lot of mana, but also easily attracts the attention of third-rank demon kings. Hence Lu Changsheng uses the spirit boat for travel. For now, he only uses the spirit boat in the outer areas of the mountain range. Once deeper inside, he would not use the spirit boat. Otherwise, encountering flocks of flying creatures would be troublesome. As the two of them entered the Myriad Beasts mountain range, they occasionally saw small groups of hunting cultivators. Since both Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao emitted the spiritual pressure of Foundation establishment cultivators, these cultivators would act as if they were facing a formidable enemy upon seeing them, fearing that they were robber cultivators. After all, within the Myriad Beasts mountain range, demon beasts are only a part of the dangers. Half of the cultivators do not die from demon beasts, but from other cultivators. After Lu Changsheng went deeper into the mountain range for a few hundred miles and saw that the situation was manageable, he and Ling Zixiao descended to the ground and stowed away the spirit boat. Xiao, don't stray too far from me, and be careful. Lu Changsheng instructed Ling Zixiao. Your consort understands. Ling Zixiao lightly smiled and softly responded. Let's get to work. Lu Changsheng took out a seeking spirit mouse from the spiritual pet bag, letting it guide him toward where the geographical veins held denser spiritual energy, indicating the presence of a spirit vein. Although he had acquired the second-rank dragon seeking technique, he hadn't cultivated the two main methods of a dragon seeker, the origin spirit divine perception and origin spirit pupillary art, at all. Thus, he could not discern the spirit veins within the mountains and lands by himself. He had to rely on this seeking spirit mouse to indicate a general direction, then check by using the pupil skill. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The seeking spirit mouse quickly nodded. It had been well-fed and comfortable for the past few months. Knowing that if it did not perform well, it would face hungry days again, it promptly began. Then, the two people and one mouse started searching for spirit veins in the mountain range. Several hours later, Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao arrived at the territory of a second-rank Thunder Rock leopard. Facing such a demon beast, Lu Changsheng directly killed it with a punch, then asked Ling Zixiao to lay a formation, while he used the origin spirit pupillary art to pinpoint the location of the spirit vein, and then began severing spiritual veins. This trip to Myriad Beast mountain range, his equipment was very complete. Mountain opener shovel, vein locating compass, spirit sealing nail, mountain and river cauldron. Origin spirit intercept, vein technique. Lu Changsheng looked at the minor spirit vein in front of him, skillfully integrating the spiritual vein origin into his mountain and river cauldron. Several days later, as the spirit vein dried up and vanished, the terrain began to collapse. Lu Changsheng saw this and quickly returned to the surface. Lord, what happened? Ling Zixiao, who was guarding outside, immediately showed concern. The changes in the terrain caused quite a stir and even affected her formation. It's nothing, the spirit vein affected the terrain. The noise might attract other demon beasts. Let's go. Lu Changsheng explained, and had Ling Zixiao pack up the array plate to change locations and let the seeking spirit mouse continue searching. And so, half a month passed by. Through these days of continuous searching, Lu Changsheng realized that most of the spirit veins in Myriad Beast mountain range were scattered minor spirit veins, even micro-spirit veins. To find those larger second-rank spirit veins, he would need to go deeper. However, going deeper might encounter third-rank demon kings. Lu Changsheng still chose to be cautious and opted to bulldoze through second-order monster beasts here. Boom, boom, boom. That day, Lu Changsheng encountered a group of demon beasts. A second-rank late-stage wolf king, leading 4 second-rank demon wolves and nearly 100 first-grade demon wolves. If it weren't for Lu Changsheng's exceptional strength, a typical Foundation establishment peak cultivator might have perished here. This also underscored one of the most perilous aspects of Myriad Beast mountain range. You never know how many demon beasts you will face. I should have brought the 9 Netherhound with me. Lu Changsheng looked at the corpses of the demon beasts around him and said somewhat regretfully. He had killed countless demon beasts along the way. Apart from monster cores or valuable materials like demon beast essence blood, most of the bones could only be abandoned. If he had the abyssal ghoul blossom or a 9 Netherhound, such waste would not have happened. However, this spirit vein should be quite substantial. Lu Changsheng surveyed the spirit vein using the origin spirit pupillary art. Having severed spirit veins over these days, he could judge the general condition of a spirit vein by the demon beast territories. Although demon beasts do not have as high requirements for spirit veins as cultivators do, they also prefer to occupy good spirit veins. Like this wolf king leading such a large wolf pack, it indicates that the spirit vein is substantial. Is this Earth Fire Evil Chi? Lu Changsheng saw a crack in the depths of the wolf king's cave, with hot evil chi emanating from it. Based on his understanding of the geographical veins from the dragon-seeking technique, Lu Changxing guessed that deep within this Earth's core, there should be a vein of Earth Sha fire. This Earth fire evil qi has an effect on tempering the body. This Wolf King could occupy this place and breed 4 second-rank demon wolves, probably because of this Earth fire evil qi. Lu Changsheng thought to himself, and without much hesitation, began to dig. As he dug deeper, there indeed was a vein of Earth fire evil qi. This Earth fire Sha vein, if transferred intact, could refine a mana foundation establishment spiritual object Earth fire gang Sha every 10 years. However, since him severing its origin, it's almost half-wasted. Lu Changxing shook his head, somewhat regretful. If such an Earth Sha fire vein could be completely transferred back home and refined through formation every 10 years, it could refine a gang Sha. This gang Sha could be used to refine artifacts, enhancing the power of spiritual artifacts, or as a fire attribute technique's foundation establishment spiritual object. But if I could find a few more of these Earth Sha fire veins, I could also nurture one at home. Chapter 1108 Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus Crazy Harvest _4 Chapter 1108 Chapter 389 Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus Crazy Harvest _4 Lu Changsheng thought to himself without hesitation, skillfully deploying the vein sealing compass, spirit sealing nail, and the mountain and river cauldron. Just as Lu Changsheng was intercepting a spirit vein, Ling Zixiao suddenly looked up and noticed 2 foundation establishment mana auras swiftly approaching from the distance. Her expression turned vigilant as she prepared herself and turned to the 1,000 Faces puppet fox beside her, whispering, "Take action." At this moment, she had no idea whether the newcomers were friends or foes. But her husband was in the middle of intercepting a spirit vein, which was not to be disturbed. It was just bad luck for the incomers to stumble upon them. Within a few breaths, 3 foundation establishment cultivators arrived in the valley. They looked at the wolf corpses strewn about with serious expressions. However, the next moment, their consciousness blurred, and they were met with different illusions. Pu. Ling Zixiao gestured an incantation, and sharp spikes, each a zhang tall, appeared from the ground, piercing through the 3 people's protective spiritual light and impaling their bodies. After doing this, Ling Zixiao's mana surged, and threads of flame aura enveloped her, forming the vague figure of a creature with the head of a beast and the body of a human, clothed in red scales, with fire serpents in its ears, and standing upon a fire dragon. This was the demon god of fire that she had cultivated through the 12 capital demon divine technique, collecting the intents of various demon gods and refining it with the dragon roar of yang energy within her body. Although this demon god was only an illusion, it already possessed a decent fighting power. The demon god stepped through the formation, incinerated the 3 corpses, and took their storage bags back into the formation with its mana, before transforming into a flame of mana that returned to Ling Zixiao's body. Days later, Lu Changsheng had intercepted the earthly Sha fire vein, and the valley's earth veins began to collapse. Seeing the commotion, Ling Zixiao proficiently packed up the formation, and she and Lu Changsheng continued their search for new spirit veins. Congratulations to the host for the birth of 700 descendants. You have earned 1 draw opportunity on this day, just as Lu Changsheng had slain a second order large bear. A system prompt sounded in his mind. Only 700. Lu Changsheng felt somewhat distracted and sentimentally. He didn't pay too much attention to it and went forward to break open the bear demon's skull, extracting the monster core. As a second-order spiritual slaughterer, he could roughly determine whether a demon beast had a monster core or not based on its size and bloodline grade. This trip to the Myriad Beast mountain range had not only yielded the spirit vein origin. Constantly slaying demon beasts also brought him a considerable income. This made Lu Changxing reflect that it's no wonder so many people came to the Myriad Beast mountain range to hunt for money. it indeed made good money. He decided that when he broke through to core formation, he would come a hunt for demon kings in the Myriad Beast mountain range and also earn the money needed to craft magical treasures. Otherwise, with the current income and expenses of his household, relying solely on the goodwill of sponsors, he really had no money to craft magical treasures. Time flew swiftly, and before they knew it, Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao had been in the Myriad Beast mountain range for half a year. With the help of the Seeking Spirit Mouse, it was quite simple for them to only look for spirit veins within the territories of second-order monster beasts. Throughout the process, although they encountered some ferocious beast groups and malicious cultivators, they were all effortlessly resolved. In the process, aside from the spirit vein, origin, and monster cores, Lu Changsheng had gathered almost 10,000 spirit stones worth of heavenly and earthly treasures. On one hand, the Myriad Beast mountain range indeed had an abundance of heavenly and earthly treasures. On the other hand, it also had to do with the demon beasts he had been hunting. After all, most of the demon beasts slain to find spirit veins were second-order great demons. Places where these great demons resided often had spirit flowers, spirit grass, or spiritual materials and or stones. Speaking of or stones, Lu Changsheng felt quite regretful. During this time, he saw 2 veins. However, personally mining these veins was too time-consuming and not worth the effort. Furthermore, mining in the Myriad Beast mountain range was very dangerous, and at least a false core strength is needed as protection. Nevertheless, Lu Changsheng had a stroke of good luck once, encountering Earth Essence spiritual milk in one of the Earth veins. For a Foundation Establishment cultivator, this second-order Earth Essence spiritual milk was highly precious. Just 1 drop would restore a large amount of mana. Thus, for the past half-year, Ling Zixiao was continuously amazed by Lu Changsheng's findings. She said that Lu Changsheng was simply blessed with huge luck. The gains from his half-year were equivalent to the wealth that many Foundation Establishment cultivators could not earn in their lifetimes. If the value of the spirit vein origin was taken into account, such income would even exceed that of many nascent soul immortals. This also made Lu Changsheng realize that being a dragon seeker was truly profitable. If he was willing to sell the spirit vein origin, he could make a fortune. I have a few more mountain and river cauldrons, and since it's going so smoothly, it'll fill up these cauldrons too. In that case, in addition to cultivating the spirit veins of Mount Sumera Cave Heaven, I can also consider cultivating Lingsue Cliff spirit veins, or nurture a few first-order spirit veins at Bai Lake Mountain. Lu Changsheng spoke out loud. The trip was smoother than he had expected, so he planned to fill every mountain and river cauldron he had prepared. By doing this, he not only could cultivate the spirit veins of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven to second-tier top level, but also improve the spirit veins of Bai Lake Mountain slightly. Okay. Ling Zixiao, graceful and elegant, replied softly. Given Lu Changsheng's efficiency, she estimated that they could return within half a year at most. Chapter 1109 Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo Heavenly Fragrance Goo Chapter 1109 Chapter 390 Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo Heavenly Fragrance Goo. A golden spirit boat carried a man and a woman. The man appeared to be in his 20s, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, noble in appearance, wearing a white golden robe with an extraordinary bearing. The woman looked about 18 or 19, with a beautiful and graceful countenance that was both elegant and otherworldly, and wore a stunning rainbow feather garment, her beautiful eyes brimming with anticipation. Little Zhu, there's still a month's journey to go, don't rush. Lu Qingshan, seeing his sister's eager face as she just disembarked from the spiritual vessel in Qingyan Market, couldn't help but smile. Although he too missed home, but as a man who travels the world, anywhere can be home, so he was not as anxious as his sister. MHM. Lu Qingzhu replied softly, sitting down on the spirit boat and speaking quietly. Brother, do you think Qingxi and Qingxian will like the gifts we've prepared? Shouldn't Xianxia be able to use the leftover Foundation establishment spirit objects from before? She had prepared many gifts for her parents, brothers, and sisters on this trip back home as the elder sister. They'll definitely like them. You've put so much thought into this, they'll have to like it for my sake, even if they don't. Lu Xingshan, accustomed to ruffling his sister's hair, said casually with a smile. As for Qingsong, if he can't achieve Foundation establishment, even with 4 Foundation establishment elixirs, he might as well bump into tofu and die. His sister, Lu Qingzhu, had only used 3 Foundation establishment elixirs to break through to Foundation establishment. If their younger brother, Lu Qingsong, couldn't break through with these 4 remaining elixirs, Lu Qingshan would be too ashamed to acknowledge him as his brother. It would be utterly embarrassing. Brother. Lu Qingzhu, who was used to her brother's casual and unfocused speech, rolled her eyes at him. Just then, the jade pendant at her waist suddenly emitted a warm glow. Lu Qingzhu was startled, then turned to her brother and said, "Brother, it seems like we have siblings nearby from our family." Oh, hearing this, Lu Qingshan's brows lifted, and he smiled as he nodded in response to his sister's gaze. In that case, let's go and see. In a dense and lush jungle, ancient trees soared to the sky, verdantly thick. Lu Rui swiftly navigated through the air with a falling leaf artifact. She had chosen to venture out into the world many years ago because of an incident at White Tiger Mountain. 18 years had passed, and her cultivation had broken through from the 6th level of energy refinement to the 8th level. And recently, in a ruins cave mansion, she had an opportunity and broke through to 9th level energy refinement, planning to return home to cultivate peacefully and attempt Foundation establishment before the age of 60. However, for some reason, she was targeted soon after leaving the ruins. Since her substitute talisman had been used up long ago, and her only 2nd rank talisman was also used in the cave mansion of the ruins. Now, faced with the pursuit of 5 cultivators at energy refinement late stage, she could only flee for her life. I can't shake them off like this. Lu Rui looked back, her cold features becoming grim. She had struggled so much over the years to secure this opportunity and glimpse a hope for Foundation establishment. The thought of dying out here was unbearable. Just then, she noticed her identity token shine with a gentle luster, emitting an intangible aura that indicated a response from her siblings. She had activated the token simply out of desperation, playing a long shot. After all, very few siblings from her family ventured out, and the Jiang country cultivation realm was so vast, it was improbable to encounter them by chance. I wonder which brother or sister it is, Lu Rui pondered in her heart. The siblings from her family who were out cultivating all had good cultivation, at least at the 6th level of energy refinement. And they all possessed talismans given by their father, which were enough to intimidate cultivators at energy refinement late stage. Swish, swish, swish. 5 figures were closing in on Lu Rui. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no grudge against each other. Could you perhaps spare me a passage for life? Lu Rui faced these approaching figures, clutching a Luo umbrella artifact, and called out loudly, "Spare you? Of course we can, as long as you hand over the fortunes from the ruins." One of the figures spoke directly. "Fortunes from the ruins? You may be mistaken. I'm just an ordinary cultivator. How could I possess such opportunities?" Lu Rui still didn't understand why she had attracted such attention. Everyone who had explored the ruins with her had died there. Logically, no one should know. Since that's the case, you can go and die. A cultivator at the 9th level energy refinement brandished a flying dagger and lunged at Lu Rui. Clang! Lu Rui opened her Luo umbrella, which bloomed with glossy radiance to fend off the attack, but the falling leaf artifact beneath her almost lost balance, nearly causing her to fall. Facing such pursuit, she could only defend herself while continuing to flee. As for handing over the opportunity, it was clear in her heart that stopping would mean certain death. Just then, a golden spirit boat approached this place. Aboard the spirit boat stood a man and a woman, with the man looking down at the situation below and effortlessly producing a several feet long golden sword light with a flick of his finger. The sword light streaked through the air with extreme sharpness, swiftly piercing the foreheads of the 5 cultivators at energy refinement late stage, creating blood holes as they tumbled to the ground with a thud. Lu Rui, staring at the scene before her, was stunned and somewhat confused. What was going on? She looked up at the man and woman on the spirit boat, her eyes showing a tinge of bewilderment. Weren't these her own siblings coming to her aid? But when did she have such formidable brothers and sisters? And she had never seen them before. However, the woman did bear resemblance to Annie Miauga, about 7 or 8 points similar. I am Lu Rui from Bihu Mountain. Greetings to both of you. Lu Rui cupped her hands in salute, nervously introducing herself. Rui's sister? I am Qingzhu, Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu, with her garments fluttering, descended from the spirit boat, speaking with some joy. She had some recollection of Lu Rui. It's just that they hadn't seen each other for decades, and both underwent significant changes, failing to recognize one another. Lu Qingzhu said with some surprise after seeing this situation. Lu Rui nearby heard this and was completely baffled. What was going on? Was the most precious thing she obtained from the ruins, in fact, this sword embryo? Yet she had acquired a great treasure without recognizing its value. You have a good eye. Lu Qingshan looked at the sword embryo before him, chuckled lightly, and stretched out his hand to grasp the sword embryo, saying, "Let's see if you are worthy of being my sword." In an instant, as the sword embryo was held in Lu Qingshan's hand and filled with his sword chi and mana, it burst into a magnificent stardust brilliance. With a single slash forward, the simple-looking sword embryo seemed to trigger a meteor shower, stars shining brilliantly, majestic and imposing, causing the space in front to explode violently, creating ravines of sword chi. Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword. Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword Technique. Lu Qingshan, holding this sword, sensed a stream of information and a sword technique. He knew the sword's name was Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword, which was originally nurtured with sentience and was a 4th-rank flying sword. However, due to its master's demise, without mana cultivation, it had fallen from a 4th-rank flying sword to a 3rd-rank sword embryo, with nearly extinguished spirit. This last wisp of spirit sensed Lu Qingshan's sword intent, and thus recognized him as its master automatically. As for this sword technique, it was a cultivation technique inheritance from the original master, named Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword Technique. Sword Charging Bull's Might, Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword Technique. The names do seem quite fitting. Lu Qingshan's lips curled up slightly as he inwardly sighed, feeling that he truly was a child of fortune. Previously, his old man acquired a sword embryo by chance, but couldn't use it and gave it to him. Now, this affordable sister picked up a sword embryo, which she also couldn't utilize, and it immediately recognized him as master. Rui's sister, this sword is fated to be with me and has already acknowledged me as the master. If there's anything you need, I can provide compensation. Lu Qingshan spoke as the sword embryo transformed into a streak of starlight and entered his body. Following his meridians, it entered the sea of chi and elixir lake within, enjoying the nourishment and warmth of his mana. Although this sword's grade had fallen and degraded, as long as it is properly nurtured, it will be much simpler to advance later on. Moreover, in Lu Qingshan's eyes, falling to a sword embryo was also a blessing. During this nurturing process, he could shape it into the form he desired. Since this sword is fated for you, Qingshan, take it, consider it recompense for just now when you saved my life. Lu Rui shook her head. She had previously read about treasures choosing their owners in tales. But to really face it herself, she still felt somewhat bitter. After all, anyone with clear eyes could see that such an opportunity was not simple. However, thinking that the chosen one was her own brother, she felt a little more at ease. If some robber cultivator had stolen it, and this situation of the treasure choosing its master had arisen, she would have been extremely aggrieved. Rui, sister, you are preparing to return home for Foundation establishment. Here are some Foundation establishment elixirs, Foundation establishment spirit objects, and cultivation elixir medicines. Seeing the situation, Lu Qingzhu immediately took out various treasures and elixirs from her storage bag and handed them to Lu Rui. Her brother was known for being straightforward and did not like to owe favors. Though they were siblings, she still tried her best to offer compensation, so that her brother wouldn't have to worry about owing a debt of gratitude and not knowing how to broach the subject. Isn't this unnecessary? Lu Rui was somewhat tempted but embarrassed to say so. You need these, and since both my brother and I have already achieved Foundation establishment, we have no use for them. It turns out you, Rui's sister, are just about to prepare for Foundation establishment. Lu Rui shook her head lightly in response. All right, we'll discuss it more when we return home. Tonight, I will hold a feast to wash away the dust for you. Lu Miaoge led her 3 children back to Baiyin Peak. She then took Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu to visit Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian. Qingxian, Qingxi, these are your brother Qingshan and sister Qingzhu. Lu Miaoge introduced the two to the little ones. The siblings were 5 years old, one lively and active, the other quiet and polite. Brother, sister. Lu Qingqi, very outgoing, rushed forward to hug Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, chatting away with curiosity about their adventures. Having been told much about Lu Qingshan early on, she held her previously unseen brother in high admiration. Beside her, Lu Qingxian remained quiet and gentle, greeting his brother and sister before listening to his sister, Lu Qingqi, chatting with the newly arrived brother and sister. Mom, where's Dad? At this moment, Lu Qingshan, noticing that his father had not appeared, asked, Your father is busy dealing with some matter. He has gone to the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Lu Miaohuan informed directly. Do my birth characters clash with Dad's? Why is he never home when I am? Lu Qingshan, while holding his sister Lu Qingqi, remarked somewhat speechlessly. He had wanted to consult his father about the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture now that he had achieved Foundation establishment. He was becoming increasingly aware of the depth of this cultivation technique and felt he needed his father's guidance to comprehend the subsequent teachings. Your father should be out for about a year. With a few months left, he should be returning. How long do you plan to stay home this trip? Lu Miaoge spoke gently like water. There's no rush. Our sect has nothing urgent for the time being. Lu Qingshan grinned, then began to inquire about his brother Lu Qingsong and his grandfather's affairs. On the periphery of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, a group of energy-refining cultivators was being chased by a second-rank huge bear. Even at the energy refinement late stage, they were no match for this giant bear. Just as they were driven to a dead end, a roar that pierced the sky, splitting the heavens, suddenly came from the depths of the mountain range. Roar! The roar was like a thunderstorm, rolling and tumultuous, shaking the trees and scattering leaves, making one's spirit tremble. Those who were already in dire straits upon hearing this roar lost control of their spiritual power and stumbled, falling to the ground. Just as they were in despair and thought they were going to be smashed by the bear, they saw the fearsome giant bear howl towards the sky and then sprint towards the depths of the mountain range. What's going on? The group looked at each other in disbelief, not understanding what had happened. Was that roar just now the voice of a third-rank demon king? Perhaps due to her infinite trust in Lu Changsheng, facing a third-rank demon king like the Wind Thunder Hound, she wasn't frightened at all. And indeed, Lu Changsheng, as she trusted, had astounding escape techniques, his speed even exceeding typical core formation true masters. making even the third-ranked Demon King unable to catch up. Possibly. Lu Changxing nodded. Although he did not provoke any third-ranked Demon Kings, this forceful pushing through second-order monster beasts might have drawn the attention of a third-ranked Demon King. Lord, this type of Demon King is highly intelligent and has keen senses. If you continue to seize spiritual vein origins, you must distance from this area. Otherwise, you will continue to attract the Wind Thunderhound's attention. Ling Zixiao continued. The gains from this trip are plentiful enough. There's no need to relocate. Lu Changsheng shook his head. This trip, despite being noticed by the Wind Thunderhound, was otherwise very smooth and fruitful. Judging by his assessments, the sea's spiritual vein origins were sufficient to nurture the Mount Suru Cave Heaven's spiritual vein to second-tier top level and potentially upgrade the Lingxiu Cliff to second tier. Hence, he planned to return home directly. Moreover, the storage bags he brought were almost full. Continuing would be a waste. All right, Ling Zixiao responded with a light smile. She then set up a formation to conceal their aura, waiting for their mana to recover before returning to Bai Lake Mountain. The intensive escape greatly exhausted Lu Changsheng. If not for the profound origin bead, his mana would not even hold up. If I had exerted my full strength, I wonder if I could suppress that Wind Thunderhound. Lu Changsheng, holding 2 high-quality spirit stones, sat cross-legged in meditation, pondering. He had hundreds of third-rank talismans in his hands. Setting up a talisman formation to bomb a third-ranked Demon King was naturally feasible. However, faced with the Wind Thunderhound's innate divine ability, he wasn't entirely confident. When Lu Changsheng fully recovered, setting off with Ling Zixiao to return to Bai Lake Mountain, the incident involving the Wind Thunderhound from Myriad Beast Mountain Range also reached the Spirit Taming Sect. The Spirit Taming Sect, upon hearing of this, dispatched people to investigate, unaware why the Wind Thunderhound acted thus. Still cautious about any movements in the Myriad Beast Mountain Range due to the beast tide that had severely damaged their vital energy 30 years ago. Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, along with Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian, visited their grandfather, Lu Yuanding, at Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Yuanding was over 100 years old. Even after consuming many treasure medicines and lifespan extension pills, he appeared quite aged, with distinctly white hair. Seeing his grandchildren and granddaughter, he was immensely happy. His spirits lifted considerably. Especially upon witnessing both of his daughter's foundation establishment break through, his excitement was unparalleled. Having 3 foundation establishment cultivators secure his family, something he couldn't even dream about in his early years, made him feel his life was complete. Qingqi, Qingxian, when you grow up, cultivate diligently just like your brother and sister. Lu Yuanding saw the 2 children, reminded of Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu's childish days, his voice gentle and kind. Grandfather, rest assured, when I grow up, I'll cultivate diligently, not only to break foundation, but to become a core formation true master. Lu Qingqi, grasping her grandfather's beard with her little hand, chirped cheerily. Very well, when you break through core formation, come to Qingzhou Mountain and tell grandfather. Lu Yuanding, holding his granddaughter, laughed heartily. Just then, Lu Yuanzhong, with Lu Qinhua, arrived at the small courtyard, greeting Lu Yuanding, Lu Qingshan, and others. Chapter 11-13. Zhoutian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _5 Chapter 11-13. Chapter 390. Zhoutian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _5 moments later, Lu Yuanding turned to Lu Qingshan and asked gently, Qingshan, would it be convenient for you to have a sparring match with Changhua? Just now, Lu Yuanzhong expressed his wishes to know the gap between their direct lineage and the talents of the immortal sex. The Qingzhou Mountain of today is not what it used to be. The family's powerful cultivation technique bestowed by Lu Changsheng is the Pan Yuan turning technique. Lu Chenghua not only possesses exceptional talent, but is also the only person in the family who has succeeded in cultivating this technique. At these words, Lu Qingshan looked at Lu Changhua, standing next to him, who was at the Foundation Establishment first layer of cultivation level. Under normal circumstances, cultivators like him were by no means worthy of sparring with him. However, since his own grandfather had spoken, he nodded and said with a light smile, "Of course, that's possible. It's kind of you, Uncle Qingshan." Lu Chenghua, several years older than Lu Qingshan, but still speaking with considerable courtesy according to the generational hierarchy, still carried a bit of pride in his brows. After all, he is the only one in Qingzhou Mountain who cultivated the Pan-Yuan turning technique, and the first in the family to condense a Dao foundation without flaw. He believes that even if he is not as excellent as a top talent like Lu Qingshan, he would not be too far behind. Instantly, several people moved to an open area of Qingzhou Mountain. "Make your move." Lu Qingshan stood tall and slim, resembling a heavenly sword himself, and spoke. "Aren't you going to draw your sword, Qingshan?" Lu Yuanding, knowing his grandson is a sword cultivator, was puzzled to see him not drawing his sword. Were it anyone else who said this, Lu Qingshan might have retorted with, "Do you even merit my sword?" But since it's his grandfather, he curbed his reaction and merely said with a smile, "It's just a spar. Uncle Qingshan, please forgive my offense." Lu Chenghua's eyes sharpened slightly as he spoke, his hands forming gesture incantations and mana flowing around him, emitting a strong and profound aura. Immediately, an earthen yellow magic ring appeared and pressed down, rotating heavily towards Lu Qingshan. Facing such an offensive, Lu Qingshan flicked his finger, releasing sword chi that immediately shattered the magic ring. On the sideline, both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding were taken aback. Even Lu Chenghua felt a moment of breathlessness. He hadn't expected his attack to be so easily negated. His expression grew solemn as he repeatedly performed gesture incantations, with two magic rings forming around him and overlapping rotations pressing down towards Lu Qingshan. But still, with a flick of Lu Qingshan's finger, sharp sword light burst forth, shattering the magic rings once again. Lu Qingzhu, standing at the side, hoped her brother would take it easy, but knowing that her brother never did such things on normal occasions. And besides, with Lu Chenghua's skill level, her brother would have to act. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to pull punches. She whispered to her grandfather, "Grandfather, my brother's skill is quite formidable. It's not evident in regular sparring, but Chenghua's strength is already quite impressive." Upon hearing these words and seeing the situation unfold, Lu Yuanding didn't know what to say. Meanwhile, Lu Yuanzhong was flooded with shock. He knew very well Lu Chenghua's capabilities, not much weaker than his own. Yet before Lu Qingshan, it was like a child without threat. Didn't it imply that if Lu Qingshan genuinely made his move, he could almost instantaneously vanquish both him and Lu Chenghua? "Thank you for your guidance, Uncle Qingshan." Lu Chenghua gave a wry smile at the side, sighing helplessly. The sparring match ended in quite a dramatic fashion. However, Lu Qingshan considered Lu Chenghua's strength to be more than passable, ranking in the upper middle level among the immortal sects. Hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong felt much more relieved. The family had devoted much effort and awaited over a decade to cultivate Lu Chenghua. If he turned out to be only inferior within the immortal sects, it would indeed be a despairing outcome. Yet through this sparring, they had gained a rough idea of the prowess of the immortal sect geniuses and nascent soul seeds. A month later, Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao returned to Bai Lake Mountain. Qingshan and Qingzhu are back. Just arriving home, Lu Changsheng received news of his children's return, revealing a faint smile on his face. He thought that it was timely of him to return home. Had he delayed for a few more months, perhaps his children would have already returned to the Jinyang sect again. However, upon hearing that Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu went to Qingzhou Mountain and White Tiger Mountain, he arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven and summoned out one mountain and river cauldron after another. Mount Sumeru, Lu Changsheng called out to Mount Sumeru. He needn't arrange any formations, as Mount Sumeru could refine the origin source on its own, using it to nourish the spirit veins. Yes, master. Mount Sumeru replied with an ethereal and melodious voice, bringing each mountain and river cauldron deep into the earth's meridians. Yet, Lu Changsheng kept one mountain and river cauldron, preparing to use it later to upgrade his Ling Tsue cliff used for cultivating and nurturing spiritual medicines. Afterward, Lu Changsheng gave a pile of monster cores to Hong Lian, embedding them within the ancient beast taming charm. His Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon had been under cultivation. This resource-intensive entity had been limited in its growth due to his limited resources in these years, so he had cut back on investment in this area. Now that he had monster cores, he naturally fed all of them, hoping to soon produce a few second-ranked Dao soldiers and see their effects. Having finished these tasks, Lu Changsheng remembered he still had a lottery draw and went to the summit under the Mount Sumeru tree, thinking to himself, "System, lottery draw, ding. Congratulations to the host on obtaining the heavenly fragrance goo. The reward has been placed in the system space, and the host can check it at any time." An image of a pink caterpillar emerged from the spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Goo insect? Lu Changsheng's brow rose slightly upon seeing this prize. With the experience from owning the Peach Blossom Goo and the Hope Goo, he had a rather positive impression of the system's goo insects. He felt such items could come more frequently, liking them for their usefulness. His mental spirit stirred slightly as he glanced into the system space. Goo insect, heavenly fragrance goo, quality, heavenly spirit goo, description. The heavenly Tao contains yin and yang, while humans possess good and evil, righteousness and wickedness, beauty and ugliness. The fragrant is loved by all, and those of heavenly fragrance are favored by the world. Chapter 11:14 Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo Heavenly Fragrance Goo _6 Chapter 11:14 Chapter 390 Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo Heavenly Fragrance Goo _6 The effects of this heavenly fragrance goo. Why does it seem a bit like the flawless heavenly fragrance body? Lu Changsheng gazed at the heavenly fragrance goo before him, his eyes slightly congealed. Regarding his flawless heavenly fragrance body, through Hong Lian, he had a general understanding of its effects. This spiritual body can be divided into two parts. Innocence, heavenly fragrance. The innocence part allows the possessor of the spiritual body to be pure throughout, with all meridians unobstructed, no bottlenecks before foundation establishment, a lifespan different from ordinary people, an extraordinary resistance to poisons in the flesh, reducing elixir toxicity. As for the heavenly fragrance part, the most obvious effect is the fragrance produced by the body. This scent can make one feel affectionate, and even have a heart-stirring effect during intimate moments between men and women. According to Hong Lian, if the possessor of the flawless heavenly fragrance body were to break through to the core formation stage, they would somehow be favored by the heavens and earth, enhancing their fortune by a few points. Although this talk of fortune is very mystical and hard to verify. But when breaking through from core formation to nascent soul, indeed, the nascent soul heavenly tribulation faced by the flawless heavenly fragrance body will be somewhat weaker. Extract. Lu Changsheng extracted this heavenly fragrance goo. Instantly, he gained a detailed understanding of this goo insect. It really does share some similarities with the flawless heavenly fragrance body. Lu Changsheng, holding the heavenly fragrance goo in his hand, was surprised. Once refined, this heavenly fragrance goo could make its owner emanate a body fragrance that endears them to others. After the goo insect ascends to second transformation, the effect of this fragrance will further strengthen, not only making others feel affectionate, but also rendering them reluctant to harm the owner. When the goo insect ascends to third transformation, even enemies who smell this fragrance would soften their hearts and become unwilling to inflict harm. Upon reaching fourth transformation, this fragrance could indeed start improving destiny and fortune in subtle ways. However, breeding this heavenly fragrance goo is quite troublesome. At first transformation, it's manageable, just needing the scent of ordinary flowers. At second transformation, this flower scent must come from the fragrance of rare spiritual medicines. For third transformation, promoting the heavenly fragrance goo becomes very challenging. It requires the fragrance of heaven and earth spirit plants and spirit flowers. As for fourth transformation, it's no longer about ordinary fragrances, but divine scents, which are the incense offered in others' beliefs. Breeding this heavenly fragrance goo is too difficult, isn't it? Goo like peach blossom goo is much simpler. Hope goo doesn't even need to be bred. I possess the flawless heavenly fragrance body, peach blossom goo, and if I refine this heavenly fragrance goo on top of that, I might really become a male enchantress. Lu Chongqing looked at the goo worm, stroked his chin, and mused to himself. But he had no intention of refining this heavenly fragrance goo. Like now, he always keeps the fragrance of the flawless, heavenly fragrance body sealed away. Only during dual cultivation would he use it for some romantic fun. Otherwise, what kind of image would a grown man emit fragrance wherever he goes? With the addition of another heavenly fragrance goo, there would really be a scented breeze with every step. Thinking of this scene made Lu Chongqing shudder. When I eventually travel to the Jin Kingdom, I should prepare some gifts for Yao Yao. Since she was born into the Five Poisons cult, she might have some kind of life-bound goo worm. This heavenly fragrance goo would make a good meeting gift for her. Lu Chongqing thought of his daughter, whom he had yet to meet. This daughter, being the possessor of the flawless, heavenly fragrance body, would benefit greatly on her path of growth if she could refine this heavenly fragrance goo. And fragrance, such a thing for a grown man like him, feels strange. But for a cute, lovely, and beautiful young girl, it would be quite normal. I wonder how Yao Yao is doing right now. Lu Chongqing couldn't help but sigh when he thought that his daughter had already achieved foundation establishment. He felt that so much time had passed. When he goes to the Jin Kingdom, it will be time to meet his daughter, Meng Xiaochan. He really wanted to take his daughter home, but unless he brought her back by force, it would likely not be easy. Chapter 11:15. The Golden Silkworm Goo and the Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Chapter 11:15. Chapter 391. The Golden Silkworm Goo and the Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Rui, this is the Three Suns Elixir. It can dispel hidden injuries and potential problems in your body, just like the bright sunshine, eradicating them all. These 3 bottles of 100 herb elixir can nourish your meridians and flesh, and this jade liquid spiritual wine has the effect of condensing your spiritual power. Drinking a cup every day can improve your foundation. As for foundation establishment elixirs, Daddy here has some top-grade foundation establishment elixirs. In the Lu family mansion, Lu Chongqing looked at his daughter Lu Rui and said with a smile. His daughter had matured a lot after being away for so many years. Her brows now bore a trace of severe and evil qi. Without even thinking, he knew that she must have suffered a lot while being outside. Now that she was back home preparing for her foundation establishment, he, as a father, naturally wouldn't be stingy. Even though his daughter only possessed an 8th grade spiritual root and had a slim chance of breaking through, he would prepare everything thoroughly. Daddy, Lu Rui looked at the elixirs and spiritual wine handed to her by her father, her lips slightly parted and a warm current flowing in her heart. Having seen the cruelty of the cultivation world, where countless people fought and killed each other for a few hundred or even dozens of spirit stones. Seeing her father's generous gesture now, she felt somewhat dazed. But thinking back, when she left, her father did the same, preparing elixir medicines, talismans, magic artifacts, and puppets all for them. As for Foundation Establishment spiritual objects, our home doesn't have suitable ones at the moment, but I've asked your Aunt Miao Yun to purchase them externally and prioritize your needs. You've had a hard time outside all these years. Relax a little now that you're back home. Lu Changsheng reached out to touch his daughter's head, his smile gentle. Daddy, what if I fail in breaking through? Facing such profound paternal love, Lu Rui felt some pressure swell within her heart. With only an 8th grade spiritual root, and despite all the preparations, her chances of Foundation Establishment were at most 20 to 30%. Foundation Establishment involves success and failure. It's all very normal. Just consume and refine these, and you should be ready for your attempt at Foundation Establishment. Even if you fail, you can try a second time. It's not a big deal. Lu Changsheng said cheerfully. For a child who was willing to give it their all, he was also willing to provide a few more chances. Lu Rui was taken aback by these seemingly light-hearted words, but she understood that her father didn't want her to feel pressured. Chapter 11:16 Golden Silkworm Goo and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Chapter 11:16 Chapter 391 Golden Silkworm Goo and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. After his days of nurturing, this sword embryo has gained a bit more luster. This sword embryo is quite good, but it lacks some sharpness for you. You can gather some essence gold, and later I will help you refine it again. Lu Changsheng, as a 3rd-order top-level artifact refiner, saw the condition of this sword embryo at a glance. The sword is naturally excellent, but its compatibility with Lu Qingshan is only about 70%. If this sword embryo serves as the core, mixed with a large amount of essence gold as spiritual materials, the sharpness of the flying sword would be greatly enhanced, making it more suitable for Lu Qingshan. Father, you know artifact refining too? Lu Qingshan said in surprise. Fairly decent. Understanding one method opens doors to many. I know a bit or two. Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. Lu Qingshan was somewhat skeptical, finding it unbelievable that his own father also understood artifact refining. He did not say anything, but asked for guidance on the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. Naturally, Lu Changsheng did not hide his skills. Initially, he had not taught everything because saying too much would have been incomprehensible to the other party. Under Lu Changsheng's guidance, Lu Qingshan had a moment of enlightenment and went on to closed-door cultivation. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng smiled and felt moved by his son's extraordinarily remarkable talent in the sword Dao. Afterward, he cared about his daughter Lu Qingzu's situation, asking about her daily life. His son, Lu Qingshan, with his carefree nature, shone brightly outside and naturally would not find life boring. But his daughter, Lu Qingzhu, with her calm temperament, probably found life somewhat monotonous and dull. Daddy, facing her father's care, Lu Qingzhu responded gently and tenderly that her life was fine, and her brother Lu Qingshan always took great care of her. The only concern was her brother's personality. If treated unfairly, he could suffer greatly, and she hoped Lu Changsheng could perhaps give some gentle advice. Sigh. Lu Changsheng sighed softly, knowing that his son Lu Qingshan's behavior was difficult to change, partly because that was just his nature. Moreover, it was also subtly influenced by the integration with the seed of law. If one day his personality changed drastically, no longer being sharp and distinct, it could also shatter his sword heart. Little Zhu, you can also keep an eye on him. Lu Changsheng gently rubbed his daughter's head, speaking softly. He gave his only 2nd-order top-level puppet to his daughter, along with 10 3rd-rank talismans. Don't let your brother find out. Lu Changsheng looked at his daughter's surprised expression and chuckled softly. If Lu Qingshan knew, this youngster might become even more wildly confident. Daddy, Lu Qingzhu pursed her lips gently. As a disciple of the Jinyang sect and a Foundation Establishment cultivator, she naturally knew the value of the 2nd-order top-level puppet and 3rd-rank talismans. Such high-grade puppets and talismans were nearly impossible to buy in the marketplace. Keep these. You both are often away from home, and Dad can't be by your side, so you have to take care of yourselves. Lu Changsheng watched his daughter's composed demeanor and spoke gently. Thank you, Daddy. Lu Qingzhu smiled softly. After spending half a month with his wives and children at home, Lu Changsheng began his closed-door cultivation. Although he had not practiced during his year in the Myriad Beast mountain range, he had accrued a lot of cultivation and magical power through his children. He planned to take advantage of these days when the spirit vein was upgrading to make a big push and condense the remaining 9 yin-yang primordial pills. Then, he would harvest the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, refine it to form his second Dantian, and start condensing 36 more yin-yang primordial pills. By then, the spirit vein of Mount Sumeru, Cave Heaven, would have mostly been cultivated and upgraded, and he could begin his core formation. Gene Kingdom, Immortal Spider Marketplace. Buzzing. The marketplace's great formation began operating, shrouded in mist and brimming with spiritual light, vaguely showing a gigantic blood jade spider dominating, enveloping the entire marketplace, barring everyone from entry or exit. Outside the drunk Immortal Pavilion, a beautiful purple-dressed young lady approached gracefully. Her purple veil hid her real face, making it unclear. Yet her snow-white skin that seemed to coalesce, her long willowy brows, and her eyes shimmering like the azure waves of stars, could captivate countless men. Many cultivators seeing this young lady couldn't help but reveal a look of amazement, unable to move their eyes from her extraordinary demeanor. Miss Sue, what's happening? The purple-dressed girl entered the hall, looking at a black-clad, beautiful woman, and asked softly. Her voice was gentle like a soft breeze, enchanting like celestial music. Miss, we just discovered that junior sister Lu Dai was secretly slain here in a marketplace. So I activated the formation to prevent the assassin from escaping. The beautiful woman said immediately, Are there any leads? The girl tilted her head and inquired. This person's methods are very peculiar. The traces on the corpse show the corpse evil chi of the Heavenly Corpse sect, the ghost energy of the Yiming Ghost sect, and the blood evil energy of the Gong family. The beautiful woman said softly, leading the girl to examine the corpse. Chapter 11:17 Golden Silkworm Goo and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Chapter 11:17 Chapter 391 Golden Silkworm Goo and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. What's wrong? The young girl's eyebrows slightly furrowed, her nose still as a maiden's. Like an innocent and cheerful girl, she asked, Isn't there enough manpower in our marketplace to take them down? Do I need to inform Sister Xiao Chan? Enough. I will make the arrangements. The beautiful woman, thinking of the girl's identity, sighed inwardly and said no more. Provoking forces like the Heavenly Corpse sect and Yiming Ghost sect stationed in the marketplace might cause trouble. Yet, disobeying this young miss and making her unhappy would mean trouble now. Half a day later, at the Immortal Spider Peak, inside a grand palace, nobly dressed men and women were bound, their mana restricted, unable to move. Nangong Yao Yao, what is the meaning of this? Miss Yao Yao, is there perhaps some misunderstanding here? Our Gong family has always had good relations with your sect. Nangong Yao Yao, you judge us based on the traces of techniques on the corpse. Isn't that too hasty? These people, either rich or aristocratic, all came from powerful families. Caught unexpectedly, all were fiery with anger. On the high platform of the palace, a girl in purple gauze covering her face sat casually to the side, resting her chin on her hand, one leg over the other. Her figure was perfect, her legs long and straight like mutton fat jade, emitting a dazzling and mesmerizing luster. Don't be angry, everyone. Yao Yao just wants to know if my senior sister's death has anything to do with you all. Nangong Yao Yao looked at the furious people inside the hall. Her beautiful eyes blinked softly. She spoke sweetly and cutely. confirming that everyone from the marketplace had been captured, her clothes fluttering, the bells tied at her waist tinkling clearly. Her fragrant body approached one of them. Then, her star-like eyes shimmered with a dreamy, stunning light as she sweetly asked, "Senior brother, does this have something to do with you?" The young man being questioned by Nangong Yaoyao looked into those beautiful eyes, his eyes momentarily lost. He wasn't unfamiliar with beautiful women, but he swore he had never seen such beautiful eyes in his life. This beauty was indescribable, beyond words. Under the gaze of these beautiful eyes, his mental spirit, well, even his soul, were sinking, willingly surrendering to her charm, ready to go through fire and water for her. A moment later, only the image of the girl in purple filled his pupils. He blankly said, "I was cultivating in the courtyard at the time, and do not know of this matter." Then, what was your purpose coming to the Immortal Spider Marketplace? Nangong Yaoyao continued to inquire sweetly. Facing such a question, everyone else in the hall felt a chill in their hearts. You must know this man is a foundation establishment cultivator just like Nangong Yaoyao. Yet, faced with Nangong Yaoyao's tactics, he could not resist at all. A moment later, Nangong Yaoyao looked toward another woman and asked the same question. However, this woman was wary and closed her eyes, refusing to look into Nangong Yaoyao's eyes. Pu. Seeing this, Nangong Yaoyao lightly lifted her hand. A 1-inch-long golden light shot out, piercing back and forth through the woman's chest, spurting out clusters of bloody flowers. Ah! The woman immediately let out a shrill scream of pain. "Sister, just tell Yaoyao." Nangong Yaoyao, still with her face covered by purple gauze, remained full of sweet smiles, her voice melodious, her beautiful eyes emitting an enchanting purple glow. The woman felt as if something was devouring her internal organs, her eyes bulging, veins throbbing, pain causing her to break into cold sweats. Hearing Nangong Yaoyao's voice, which sounded like heavenly music, she suddenly felt much of her pain dissipating, and a feeling of gratitude involuntarily surged in her heart. She suddenly realized something was amiss. Yet she gradually lifted her head to gaze into Nangong Yaoyao's purple luminescent and beautiful eyes, feeling her mental spirit start to sink, as if the person before her was someone she was most close to. This matter has nothing to do with me, but might very likely be the doing of the Wuchang ghost. I came here this time because I heard news about the 6-winged golden silkworm preparing to verify this matter. A moment later, the woman spoke with a hoarse voice. 6-winged golden silkworm? Upon hearing this, Nangong Yaoyao lightly blinked her lovely eyes, appearing playful and adorable, and immediately inquired, "Where is this 6-winged golden silkworm? Do you have any relevant information?" Her life-bound goo worm is named Golden Silkworm Goo. If she could refine it with the 6-winged golden silkworm again, it could ascend to a celestial goo, serving as an external incarnation, a vessel for the second nascent soul. Moreover, she remembered that the 6-winged golden silkworm was a fierce and unusual species. If cultivated to the 3rd rank, it could refine several top-level magical treasures or even divine skills. All I know about 6-winged golden silkworm is that the person is named Chu Changten, who has possibly fled to the 5 Poisons cult after killing the son of Ghost Demon Jinren. The specifics I haven't yet investigated. The woman's face was pale, her eyes unfocused as she spoke. Chu Changtian. Nangong Yaoyao memorized the name, and then she looked at the others remaining, asking whether anyone knew about the situation and why they came to the Immortal Spider Marketplace, although her trip was to investigate a murder case. It was also an opportunity to clear out other forces' spies planted in her marketplace. After handling the matter, she came to a palace, took out a token, and sweetly called out, "Sister Xiaochan." Boom! Moments later, the palace doors opened. Nangong Yaoyao, with a face full of joy, entered the grand hall, and upon seeing a girl with delicate exquisiteness, otherworldly beauty, dreamlike and vague appearance around the ages of 18 or 19, affectionately called out, "Sister Xiaochan." During her speech, she burst into the other's embrace like a carefree little girl, looking charmingly naive. "Why are you still like a little child?" Meng Xiaocan's eyebrows curved beautifully, her eyes filled with doting love as she gazed from dreamlike, beautiful eyes. "Hee, I am just a child in front of Sister Xiaochan," Nangong Yaoyao coyly said, sharing the day's events with Meng Xiaochan. Six-winged golden silkworm. Upon hearing the name, Meng Xiaocan's eyes shimmered with a dreamy glaze. Then she softly said to Nangong Yaoyao, "Since this person could kill the son of Ghost Demon Jinren, it shows that he is exceptional, and the sect can investigate this matter." Nangong Yaoyao, looking adorably appealing, continued, "Sister Xiaochan, how long will Mother be away this time? If you miss Master, let's visit him at Heartless Ridge later." Meng Xiaochan gently stroked Nangong Yaoyao's hair, speaking softly. Yet in her heart, she hoped her master would stay in Heartless Ridge a bit longer. Before, when Yaoyao broke through to Foundation Establishment, Master had said he would go on a long journey, and she guessed what Master might be planning. Most likely to go to Jiang country, searching for that figure who always haunted his thoughts. Now that Master's Lockhart Gu has been removed, going to Jiang country, Lu Lang is probably in great danger. Meng Xiaochan looked at Nangong Yaoyao in front of her and sighed inwardly, knowing that once Heartless Ridge's matters were settled, Master would still go to Jiang country. Wondering if Master would spare Lu Lang for Yaoyao's sake. Having Nangong Yaoyao, she could see that her master's temperament had significantly changed,